last week, actually, in the eyes of public across Europe. And an event that lasts 3 days at one beach in one town shakes, of course, the politics of an entire continent, I would say. And what we have seen in Ceuta was, I would say, a test of our resilience and of the security also of our external borders. And it showed that there are actors who have no regard for the safety or even the lives of innocent people.
Recapping the top story, IDEC Head of Investigations and Operations, Matthew Sissoko, has admitted to the Matlanga Commission that he was involved throughout the controversial Operation Diversion investigation. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SAfm sports headlines, it's rugby. The Springboks brace for a fierce but fair battle with Los Pumas in Buenos Aires. And in soccer, Orlando Pirates launch their MTN8 title defense this weekend. We'll have the details around 6:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
From Joe Berg, the roadworks on the N3 that slightly overran this morning around the southbound run into Limborough Park. Mob Drive being cleared, so if you're going off Buccleuch and you've got the airport as your destination for an early morning flight, you get through okay. A little bit of traffic on the Golden Highway coming out of Eldo's up into Devlin. Some roadworks and faulty traffic lights there today. N1 South at Pretoria looking okay, coming through from Durapur Plaza down through Montana. No sign of any roadwork disruption there. A breakdown on your way to Durban between Shongweni and Marion Hill. That scene has also been cleared. All lanes open south of Shongweni, and 2 Prospector and through to the airport for your flights at King Shark are also looking good. And
why don't they? Can't you ask them for that table, one of those tables?
M7 going north into 4 Trekker Road, that's likely to be slow. And it looks like lights are out M7 R300. There's queuing pressure again this morning on both of those routes leading Mitchell's Plain. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Kathy Mutlatlana on the National Briefing.
It's 6:08. You're listening to the National Briefing. Very good morning to you. If you've just tuned into the show, my name is Kathy Mutlatlana, and I'll be with you until 9 a.m. as we lead conversations that move us, bringing you clarity, context, and conversation. Well, what can you expect coming up on the show today? Today, we're expecting that the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Tlhabisa, will sign a proclamation and publish it in the Government Gazette. On paper, it's a formality, but in practice, it is the moment that South Africa's voters' roll is frozen for the local government elections on the 4th of November. Now, 29 million of us are already on that roll this morning. If your name is not on it by midnight, or if you've moved house and have not told the IEC, you'll spend the next 5 years living with a ward councillor you had no say in choosing. So, unfortunately, there's no grace period. You can't appeal. There are no exceptions. So today is literally the final day. If you have not checked your registration details, please do that. We're also going to be unpacking this later with Defend Our Democracy. And then the Gupta story returns, but this time through South Africa's diplomatic service. Our High Commissioner to India has been recalled after appearing with Jacob Zuma and Ajay Gupta. DIRCO says it now wants former presidents to disclose who is funding their foreign travel, who they are meeting, and why. And the question is whether this is a policy gap or an accountability issue. So DIRCO will be joining us in the 7 o'clock hour. And as you know, it's an exciting month for us here at SAfm. We're turning 90 marking it under the theme 90 Years of Conversation, a Nation's Story, Our Shared Future. 90 years of South Africans debating, arguing, agreeing, mourning, celebrating out loud, all of it happening on this very frequency. So all month, the people who've held this microphone before me are coming back to sit in the chair alongside me. And really, I'm having a blast this month. So you remember we started it off on Monday with Tim Modise. This man, today, we're hosting a man who spent almost 3 decades across television, radio, and print. And he was the host of the award-winning SAfm Sunrise. And he walked this country through state capture and a pandemic before most of us even took our first cup of coffee in the morning. If you're thinking about who that might be, I think you guessed it right. And lots of you sent voice notes about it, right? During the week when I asked, who are some of the hosts, the voices of SAfm that you want to hear on air? So Stephen Groothuis is going to be with me in studio this morning. Certainly looking forward to that conversation. He'll be co-hosting the show with me from 7 o'clock. And we'll do it the same way that we did with Tim Modise. After 8, we'll turn the spotlight on him. And this weekend, of course, is also quite an important weekend for us as a country. We're marking 70 years of the Women's March, 70 years of women in this country standing up in unity. I want you to listen to this.
We presented our protest at the Prime Minister's office. It was taken by 8 leaders, literally staggering, and these enormous piles of Roneoed letters. Each one had the name and address of the woman who had sent it. The door was opened by a very frightened-looking secretary. We said, we want to see the Prime Minister. And he said, the Prime Minister is not here. And we dumped those protests all over the office. And then we withdrew, and we went back to the 20,000 women who were all sitting in the amphitheater waiting very patiently. Lillian couldn't make a speech. That was our leader. She just said the Prime Minister was not there.
Stand by.
So that was the voice of Helen Joseph reflecting on what happened during the 1956 Women's March at the Union Buildings. This Sunday, the 9th of August, marks exactly 70 years since that march against past laws. You can certainly expect more on that throughout the station as the weekend begins to unfold. Rob is standing by with your traffic. Zai has your sport, and Ntaoleng has all of your latest market updates. It's going to be a great morning, and I hope you'll stay with us right throughout, right here on the National Briefing.
Looking for exclusive content, live events, and special broadcasts like the Madlanga Commission? Then connect to the all-new SAfm Connect stream. The Madlanga Commission, live and uninterrupted from 9:30 Monday to Friday. SAfm Connect brings you more of the conversations that matter. Listen anytime, anywhere by visiting connect.safm.co.za or stream directly on SABC Plus at sabc-plus.com. SAfm Connect. More conversations, more access. There's much more coming.
This Women's Month, South Africa marks the historic milestone of freedom, the 70th anniversary of the 1956 Women's March to the Union Buildings under the theme, Empowered Women, Empower Nation. Join government on the 9th of August at the same Union Buildings as we honor the women who stood together for freedom, dignity, and equality, while celebrating today's women who continue to build our nation. The day will feature commemorative activities, cultural performances, and messages of hope, unity, and economic empowerment. Be part of this historic occasion. Watinta bafazi, watinti mbokodo, a message from government.
This is where the day begins with Kathy Mutlatlana on the National Briefing.
Let's take a look at what's making headlines or front page news on the country's newspapers. It's 15 after 6 o'clock. I'll start with the Mail and Guardian. And they've gone with the 70th commemoration of the Women's March. It says, the front page there, Women's Day. And there's an iconic picture there on the front page of the paper from that Women's March in 1956. A call to keep building reads the headline there, and inside are several tributes that have been written. Nomvula Mkonyane on the struggles of ANC women leaders, and then the women of the Madlanga Commission. And it's unmissable, right? The work that has been done, that is being done at the Madlanga Commission. Women are really at the forefront of it. Yes, it may not be led by a woman commissioner, but certainly when you look at the evidence leaders, when you look at the support staff, you are seeing a very high makeup of women at that commission, and I think they then go into the numbers. The front page of the Citizen, boos the dying vice, asks the Citizen a question on its front page. South Africa's Gen Zs, young people between 14 and 29 are seemingly following a global trend. They're shunning alcohol. They sip on the odd cocktail, but much prefer energy drinks, the gym, and natural highs through meditation. And it says, in short, they care about their well-being, unlike the older generation who consume an average of 28.9 liters of pure alcohol, and is considerably higher than the African regional average of 18.4 liters. So that's what the Citizen is exploring in the paper this morning. I don't think that's a bad thing. What do you make of that, right? Gen Z shunning alcohol. In SA, young people prefer an odd cocktail, but certainly are not going to go out drinking, at least not in the way that we see the statistics often portrayed for the rest of the population in the country. The front page of the Sowetan, Bring Back the Magic, Banyana, and it's Desiree Ellis and her goals on the front page of the Sowetan, and it's ahead of the clash that they have coming up this weekend at WAFCON. But the main story there, Justice for Hero Soweto Doctor, reads the headline. Family of Dr. Isabel expresses relief after his killers are sentenced to life for the 2024 murder at his surgery. His death robbed the Dobson community of a dedicated service that he had given them for 25 years. So justice there for the doctor. And very quickly, the front page of the Star, they're going with the illicit trade in medicines on the rise in South Africa. And FAMISA now calling for urgent government action, warning against industry job losses and drug security risks. And then they also have a story on the Madlanga Commission and the and IDIC, and in particular Head of Investigations and Operations Matthew Sisoke, who was before the Commission yesterday. He reveals that he was excluded from the crime intelligence probe into the crime intelligence head, Dumisani Kumalo, but it was one of many other high-profile investigations he was excluded from, and didn't do much, right, to question it. And Justice Madlanga actually took him to task, says, if you want to lead, then you've got to be able to stand up against authority. But he cited previous examples of workplace conflicts which had led to a kidnapping, which he says is why he preferred to just keep in the corner and keep quiet and not question much and really not ruffle feathers, as it were. So that's what's making front page news on the newspapers.
You are listening to the National Briefing with Kathy Musasana.
Taking a look at your weather for this morning, there are no warnings. There is, however, an advisory. A passing cold front accompanied by a cut-off low is expected to affect the southern Drakensberg and adjacent areas from Sunday into Monday. The system is expected to bring very cold, wet and windy conditions, very rough seas and a risk of localized flooding. The public and small stock farmers are urged to take the necessary precautions to safeguard lives, property and livestock. Pretoria weather's fine, 6 and 23. The expected UVB sunburn index moderate. Johannesburg fine, 5 and 22. Vereniging fine, 2 and 22. Mbombela morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy, 9 and 23. Polokwane fine, 7 and 23. Mahikeng fine, 7 and 26. Vryburg fine, 5 and 27. Bloemfontein fine, 2 and 24. Kimberley fine, 5 and 27. Uppington fine, 3 and 27. Cape Town partly cloudy, wind light and variable, 10 and 18. The expected UVB sunburn index moderate. George cloudy to partly cloudy, becoming fine from the afternoon. Wind variable and light, becoming light to moderate easterly to northeasterly in the afternoon, 10 and 19. Gqeberha cloudy with isolated showers and rain. Wind moderate to fresh easterly, 10 and 19. Kugomba City cloudy with isolated showers and rain, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon. Wind light and variable, becoming moderate to fresh northeasterly in the afternoon, 14 and 20. Durban with isolated showers and rain, cloudy that is. Wind light to moderate southerly to southwesterly, 18 and 23. The expected UVB sunburn index is high. Richards Bay, cloudy, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon. Wind light to moderate southerly to southeasterly, becoming easterly to northeasterly in the evening, 17 and 25. And in Pietermaritzburg, morning fog patches, otherwise cloudy to partly cloudy.
This Sunday evening at 7 on the Tastemaster Professional, our chefs whip up something sweet for the soul as they head to Bertus Passon's latest restaurant, Ongetem, in the heart of the Mother City to celebrate winter desserts. It might be cold outside, but things are heating up in the kitchen. Catch all the drama on the Tastemaster Professional. Sunday at 7, repeat Saturday at 4:30 and Sunday at 3:30. Only on SABC2.
The Global Briefing on SAfm.
Let's get into our global briefing then this morning, 23 after 6 o'clock. So one narrow waterway and one proposed toll, that is what we're looking at for the Middle East. Shipping groups say charging vessels to pass through the Strait of Hormuz could inflate energy prices and set a dangerous precedent for strategic waterways everywhere else. Dr. Joan Swart is researcher in military science, Stellenbosch University. Dr. Swart, good morning to you. Thanks for your time this morning as always. Did you see this coming?
Good morning, Kathy. Yes, basically, I did, not specifically how it happened and who approached who. But on this topic, I would just like to make 2 points and then a plea to South Africa as well. So firstly, geography, we must remember, can be a very vital national asset. And Hormuz is one of Iran's few enduring strategic assets. So this allows it to influence global energy markets and international political calculations, despite being weaker militarily and economically than, for instance, the US. So what I'm trying to say is not only is the Strait a way for Iran to ensure their existence, but also a source of income after the decades of sanctions and assets and their assets being frozen. The second point, and this comes back to the charges or the complaints being laid, it's legal interpretations. So the legal position, I think, is often misunderstood. The Strait of Hormuz is not international waters in the strict legal sense. The narrowest channel lies within the territorial waters shared by Iran and Oman. So while international law guarantees ships a right to transit passage, international practice already recognizes certain charges where states provide infrastructure, um, navigation services, administration, security, services like that. So it's not really, we're not talking about a toll, it's more a fee. And I think legally that distinction is quite important. Now, I mentioned South Africa as well. We must remember that the Cape Sea route is the alternative route when Hormuz and the Red Sea are blocked. So that can be of optimal value to South Africa, but only when our ports function well and our institutions, such as maritime security, are strong. So there's some work to be done there.
Yeah, it's certainly very interesting times, and I wish we had more time for this conversation because, the shipping organizations are arguing that this would rewrite maritime law rather than just be about, the singular cost of passing through. Very briefly, do you see that being the case? Yeah.
Maybe, but as I said, the distinction is this is not international waters, and there is a precedent that has been set. Although some of the other channels that charge fees, like the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal, there was a lot of infrastructure to actually build those channels. So it's a little bit different, but still, they worry that there may be a precedent in weakening established principles of freedom of navigation can be valid. So
Okay.
one need to have a look. Hormuz is slightly different because it is in territorial waters, but others are not, like Bab el-Mandeb, for instance.
Let's move on now to New Zealand. They're expected to ask voters about whether proportional representation still works. They've been using the system for 3 decades. Why do you think it's been questioned now?
Well, on a granular level, they are planning to hold a referendum, as you said, whether they should continue mixed member proportional electoral system, which replaced, and this is important, the first past the post called system, which is, just to explain to your listeners, we've got kind of a mix between the two. We've got also a mixed member proportional electoral system if we look at the elections coming now, which means that in every ward there's a person that would win with a 50+1 votes, and they will become the councillor. But then we've got a representation system as well. So it adds up all the votes in that area, in that municipality, let's say, for instance, the city of Cape Town, and then it allocates a certain number of councillors to parties as well. So this is why it's called a mixed member proportional system, and that is similar to New Zealand. But the broader issue, and you asked why, I think they are looking at renewing their the legitimacy of its democracy and ensure that it reflects the will of the people. And this is where referendums, I think, are very, very important and underused, especially in South Africa. So it complements a democracy by allowing citizens to express a direct view outside of party politics on major constitutional or institutional questions. And this is important. So you may have a question where people vote on the question across what their parties would actually prefer them to vote. So this allows them more freedom to express their view.
All right, Dr. Joan, we certainly never have enough time. Dr. Joan Swart, and of course, a researcher in military science at the University of Stellenbosch. It's 6:30. Let's head over to the news desk for your latest headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the ANC in the eThekwini region has expressed shock at the murder of its council in Ward 17 in Klaarwater, west of Durban. Spusiso Kwela was gunned down yesterday while assisting people in his office. IDEC Head of Investigations and Operations, Matthew Sisoko, has admitted to the Madlanga Commission that he was involved throughout the controversial Operation Diversion investigation. The probe led to the arrest of several crime intelligence officers, including former Division Head Lieutenant General Tumisani Khumalo. And the DA has reminded South Africans to register to vote before the voters' roll closes at midnight. The Minister of Kochta is expected to proclaim the elections, hence kicking off the election timetable. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We started Joburg with a crash on the M1 North near Rancho Road, just coming through Deep Cliff Interchange. On your way passing Soweto, it is a bit slow as you negotiate that one. A little bit of traffic further up on the M1 going into Winnie Mandela as well. Mike 1, Boyson's through to Empire Road, slow but not as bad as it can be. Looking okay between the Monsam Toti and King Shark for those early morning flight connections. A little bit of traffic around Prospectum, but the tricky section there between Spaghetti Junction and Umgena Road is moving okay at this stage. Cape Town, crash blocking 2 lanes. N2 inbound at Young Smuts Drive. That's already pushing traffic back towards the airport, and no lights again this morning. M7, Jake Skirbell Drive, R300 if you're coming out of the Mitchells Plain towards the Philippi side. Pretty heavy queues on both of those routes. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning to you. Let's straight to rugby, and we've got Rassie Erasmus leading the headlines. This time, he says that he's looking forward to inspiring the next generation. And of course, when we talk about the next generation, we're looking at the young team that's at the Under-20 World Championships. So plenty to talk about when it comes to Rassie. He's got a big match as well this weekend. They're taking on Los Pumas in Argentina. So his focus is going to be not just on Los Pumas, but the next generation of South African stars. And he's talking about South Africa's Jaco van Dijk, who claimed bronze at the World Under-20 Athletics Championships. Here's Jaco.
It was an amazing feeling, fighting back, getting the right distance, getting my things right.
No, man,
And
why is
all
it
the
getting
hard
my
work
level
paying
of
off
disorder?
from January, working hard with the six, trying to qualify to now being the bronze medalist. It feels insane. I'm gonna throw with the 5 now on the Youth Olympics and the top 30 and everything, and see what I can do.
More rugby. All Blacks great Borden Barrett says he'll seek out Stormers fly half Yakin Ahmed after tonight's clash in Cape Town. Barrett was touched to learn the 20-year-old junior Springbok had modelled his game on the 2-time World Rugby Player of the Year. The New Zealand veteran says inspiring the next generation is one of the greatest privileges of wearing the All Blacks jersey, and he plans to share a cold drink with Ahmed after the match. Let's go to this drama that's been brewing when it comes to the FIFA board. We've got the CAF Executive Committee unanimously backing FIFA's latest response to the controversy surrounding the proposed FIFA Forward Enterprise Investment Plan. Now, CAF welcomed FIFA's admission that mistakes were made in handling the proposal, while acknowledging President Gianni Infantino's apology and renewed commitment to transparency and good governance. CAF President Patrice Motsepe says governance remains non-negotiable, while also highlighting Africa's growing commercial success, especially looking at preparations for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations in Kenya, Tanzania, as well as Uganda. We've also got news of Brazil star Vinicius Jr. signing a new 6-year contract with Real Madrid. The 26-year-old has committed his future to the Spanish Giants until 2032 after rejecting interest from elsewhere. And tennis news, Jessica Pegula is safely through to the last 16 of the National Bank Open in Toronto. She brushed aside Kamila Rakimova 6-4, 6-love. Meanwhile, Luciana Daderi battled from a set down to beat China's Zhang Zhengzheng in Montreal, while Arthur Fields comfortably defeated Mariano Navon to book his place in the 4th round. That's your sport. We'll serve it up some more at the top of the hour. I am Zai Khan.
This FNB Market Brief is brought to you by FNB Business, empowering South African entrepreneurs with the relevant insights they need to grow and succeed every day. The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAfm.
Darling, happy Friday. So, look, not good news again. Oil is climbing as we're seeing the ructions over a possible Iran deal.
Good morning, Kathy. You're absolutely right there. I mean, markets remain really skeptical that the latest diplomatic push will deliver a breakthrough in the Iran war, and that keeping Brent crude prices around $84 a barrel. Now, Iran and Oman are negotiating an interim agreement that could fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz, but the sticking point remains control. Tehran wants oversight of vessels transiting the waterway and the ability to charge shipping fees, while Washington insists there should be no restrictions or tolls. Now, President Donald Trump says the war could end soon, but with key details still unresolved, traders continue to factor geopolitical risk into oil prices. Moving over to company news, the FIFA World Cup continues to deliver a boost for the travel industry. Now, with vacation rental platform Airbnb reporting stronger than expected second quarter revenue as the tournament attracted a wave of first-time users. North America recorded its strongest booking growth in almost 3 years, while the company also pointed to resilient demand in markets like Brazil and India. Now, that helped offset some pressure on long-haul travel caused by the Iran conflict. Airbnb says it's also expanding its offerings beyond home rentals into services such as private chefs, car rentals, and boutique hotels as it looks to broaden its growth strategy. Over in equity markets, stocks are back in the red as investors take a breather ahead of key U.S. jobs report later today that saw Wall Street pull back from record highs recorded earlier this week, with a similar picture playing out in Asia this morning, where stocks are struggling to find direction. Investors are also keeping a close eye on the latest developments in the Gulf, with the ongoing uncertainty pushing oil prices back above $80 a barrel. Now, that weighed on sentiment locally, with the JSE closing mostly weaker overnight. The rand, however, continues to hold on to gains. It's trading at 16.34 to the dollar, 22 to the pound, and 18.85 to the euro. And that's your market brief. Catch you back in the next hour for more.
The FNB Market Brief was brought to you by FNB Business, your dedicated partner with decades of expertise building and growing South African businesses. FNB, help changes everything. FNB Business is proud to partner with SAfm's The National Briefing. We stand shoulder to shoulder with South African entrepreneurs and businesses because we know building a business is a 24/7 commitment. Whether you're managing cash flow, planning for growth, or navigating challenges, we deliver the sharp insights and practical solutions you need to move forward with confidence. From smart funding options to expert business advice, FNB Business is right there with you. Visit fnb.co.za/business. FNB. Help changes everything.
Africa in Focus with Advocate Sipho Mantula on SAfm.
A refreshing morning to you, Advocate Mantula. So this morning we're going to start off with what's been unfolding in Accra in Ghana. Opposition protests over claims of a democracy that's under attack.
That is quite true, Katie. Refreshing morning in Jumbo Africa to their listeners. The new patriotic party, the NPP, remember this opposition party, they were once in government. Now they are accusing the National Democratic Congress of Dramani Mahama of undermining democracy, restricting free speech, and also targeting political opponents. So their theme of marching yesterday to the parliament was that democracy under attack. And you'll recall that this march comes after a helicopter crash that killed 8 people, including government officials, in 2025. So this march was very important, but the president was not in the country. He was in Kingston, Jamaica.
And let's move on then to Malawi, where President Peter Mutharika, he's heading our way. Why?
They're not very clear. They say this is for the 4th private visit in barely 7 months that President Professor Peter Mutharika has jetted off to South Africa. There's no other reason, Katie, for him to leave Kamuzu International Airport to South Africa. It might be a medical checkup or medical routine. And remember, the president's diary, when it comes to this, they will always say it is confidential, it is secretive, you'll not have to know. But in Malawi, the news have been looking at this visit of the president that is making the 4 private trips to South Africa in a short space of time. Others are saying, how long does he stay and who is running the country when he is away? You'll recall this week we've been talking about absent president from Paul Biya now to Peter Mutharika in our neighbor here in Malawi. I'm not certain he will also be coming to the SADC summit if we are hearing this news of this medical routine.
Yeah, I wonder if our presidency would confirm anything about his presence. I mean, is it going to meet with President Cyril Ramaphosa while he's here?
I'm not certain, Katie. Like I said to you, he's not going to meet President Ramaphosa. President Ramaphosa is handling the matters of SADC. He's handling opening of many buildings. I think, like I said to you, they say we don't need to know the medical trips of the President Mutharika. And that's why I said to you, probably it's only the government of Malawi that can tell us about the whereabouts of the president.
So we must be careful. We might bump into him somewhere, Sandton City, having a coffee. I'm just teasing. All right, an important month for us in South Africa, the 70th anniversary of the Women's March.
That is very true, Kate. I thought 48 hours before the major celebration of 70 years of the Women's March in 1956, very important for us to just look back. There are many things, Katie. You have this one that talks about empower the woman, empower the nation. That looks at the women of 56. Others are saying that it's still within our milestone of freedom campaign of honoring the past, delivering the future. Lilian Ngoyi, Helen Joseph, Rahima Musa, Sophie Willem, Wakadi Brain, these are the women that we look at. Charlotte Maklaeke, there are many actually, but what is important is how will it happen on Sunday? Because remember, Monday is a public holiday, but as we are commemorating and celebrating this Women's Day, we need to ask us critical questions about what then is the role of women in leadership, what then is the role of a young girl child being abused, being raped, being molested everywhere. How do you protect this young girl child? But what is important is this great woman who has to take lead in the African continent.
All right, and then also then getting into our historical archive, we're looking at the 9th of August, 1982.
Also, I'm waiting 48 hours. This day we never commemorated Katie. We have signed this international declaration. This international declaration on the rights of indigenous people. So the 9th of August is also known as the Day of International, Day of the Indigenous People. This came from the 1982 meeting in Geneva. It went to 1993, 1994. That's where it was agreed by the United Nations under a resolution that agreed that you need to have this International Day of Indigenous People. It was Resolution 49214. And we are honoring this case in the sense of Messara Bartman. Hence, I'm giving the listeners just a clip of the late Diana Firas when he was saying, I'm taking you home, Sarah Bartman.
I've come to take you home, a tribute to Sarah Bartman. I've come to take you home, home. Do you remember the lush green grass beneath the big oak trees? The air is cool there, and the sun is not there. I have made your bed at the foot of the hill. Your blankets are covered in buchu and mint. The protea stand in yellow and white, and the water in the stream chuckles, sing songs as it hobbles along over little stones.
That was a tribute to Messara Bartman, Kate. You will recall that there is a site of him in Eastern Cape, and that's how we are observing the Women's Month in advance. We are back, Katie, on Africa in Focus extended on Monday. There's no holiday for us as we're observing Abu Mama Bate Africa.
Get into real conversations weekdays at 4:30 on SABC2 with me, Penny Libiani, with Ain't Like Let's Connect.
I'm Frederica Lucas, bringing you some of the most inspiring guests and practical advice.
Every evening, we bring family advice and all your favorite celebrities.
It's a big celebration of local talent from across industries.
Catch Ain't Like Let's Connect weekdays at 4:30 on SABC2 or stream anytime on SABC+.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Traffic flow a lot lighter this morning. If you look at Gauteng, everything where it sort of should be, where it usually is, but just a little bit lighter in its volume. One standout is the N1 South coming from Allendale down to Buccleuch. There is a breakdown there, so that's a little bit slow. Also some queues at Sprayview. Looks like something's happened between Leondale Road and the Heidelberg Road exit. If you're coming in from Fosterus up into Sprayview, that traffic on the N3 is looking particularly heavy. Reminder about the roadworks and faulty traffic lights on Solomon Mhlanga around Delphi through Garsfontein. Solomon Mhlanga moving west through that Pretoria East area is being held up again this morning. Durban, a breakdown on the N2 South going into Spaghetti Junction. That scene has been cleared and that small backlog has made its way through. Cape Town, two really big traffic lights out this morning. M7 at the R300, so big traffic coming out of Mitchell's Plain, and then right in the heart of Goodwood, one of the busiest routes and junctions in Cape Town. N7, Jake Scoville Drive at Four Tracker Road. No lights there with some queues, all approaches building up. And the N2 inbound, a crash at Jan Swipes Drive, pushing a queue back towards the airport. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
If you are a passionate sports fan between 18 and 35, this is your moment to step into the spotlight at the 19th edition of the SA Sport Awards. Create a 45-second video where you introduce last year's Youth Junior Sports Star of the Year nominees. One winning presenter and their plus one will enjoy an all-expenses-paid trip to Sun City, a 10,000 Rand cash prize, and the opportunity to interview the Youth Junior Sports Star of the Year live on SABC1 on the 23rd of August 2026. Visit the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture website or official social media pages to enter. Entries close at 12 noon on the 9th of August 2026.
This is where the day begins with Kathy Mutlatlana on the National Briefing.
It's 6:48. You're still tuned into the national briefing. Let's get into the story now. Afghan women are not only fighting exclusion from classrooms and public life, they're also trying to persuade the world to recognize that systemic erasure for what they say it is, which is gender apartheid. Now, a delegation has come to South Africa to learn from the legal and political struggle against apartheid and build alliances answers for the fight ahead. Gaisu Yari is an Afghan activist and Malala Fund advocate rather. She joins me on the line. Gaisu, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. So tell us about why this delegation has come to South Africa.
Hi, Kathy. Good morning to you and to your listeners. Thank you very much for the question and giving the opportunity to be part of your program in a very important month here in South Africa. In fact, it's not my first time to come in South Africa. I came here in 2025, and so many Afghan women have been traveling to South Africa since 2023 when Malala gave the Mandela speech back then. So we are in South Africa because of the 70th anniversary of Women's March. We are in South Africa to learn, to show our solidarity, to share our struggle in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is far away from South Africa, but perhaps I think there are similarities to learn from these struggles and the courages that are in this country. And we Afghan women are turning to South Africa so many times, and specifically in this historic time, to actually sit and listen to the stalwarts, to the anti-apartheid movement builders, and also to the youth who are actually taking the current struggle forward. So that is the main reason we are here, and we are showing up to say that we are also here to show solidarity, listen to you, and of course learn from you.
It's been quite interesting to see how you paint the struggle that is faced by Afghan women as being similar, at least structurally, to what was faced by black South Africans under apartheid. So the term gender apartheid, right? You now want international recognition of that as a crime. Speak to us more about it.
Can I just take a step back for your listeners to give a little bit of context to say why Afghan women are calling it gender apartheid? So this is not the first time Afghan women have called it gender apartheid. It actually was called between 1996 and 2001 when the Taliban had control over Afghanistan, with the fact that the Taliban are a product of the Western world in Afghanistan that came and controlled Afghanistan back then, and then they were returned, and Afghanistan was given to them forward in 2021. I also would like to point out and set up a picture around August of this year, which we are in right now. This August 15th, it's going to be 5 years that Afghan women and girls are erased from the society, and that is systematic. The way the Taliban are functioning, their government, are based on the laws, decrees, and policies in an implementation process where they step by step erase women. Since the past 5 years, women cannot go to school over 6th grade. Girls cannot go to universities. Women are not allowed to work. Women don't have any income, to the point that the voice of Afghan women are illegal to be heard by a neighbor in Afghanistan. And to the fact that you cannot actually see your neighbor, or your voice should not hear your voice. Child marriage is legal in Afghanistan. Slavery is legal in Afghanistan. So these are the laws, more than 200 decrees that targeted Afghan women in Afghanistan in the past 5 years, basically are trying to erase women. So because this is so systematic, because this is an oppression that is a domination of men over women, and that is what the Taliban have been doing to maintain their power in Afghanistan and to use it as a leverage. Both they're using culture, religion, and everything against women in Afghanistan and show the world that they are the most oppressive regime in the world, and the only one actually. Therefore, Afghan women are calling it gender apartheid because of the systematic version of it, because of the domination that they are setting up and defining in their laws to control women and girls in Afghanistan in the past 5 years. Unfortunately, on August 15th, it's 5 years that girls can't go to school. This is sometimes, Kathy, we just hear that women can or girls cannot go to school or cannot go to work. young girls for 5 years is half of a decade. So half of a decade is quite long. And then also imagine women cannot go to any medical students. Imagine what happened a decade from now. Imagine what happens 10 years from now, that we will not have any we will not have any doctors. We will not have any professionals. That generation is already stopped. So therefore, that is not under the international law. There is no accountability for it. So the term gender apartheid comes with this definition. And what does that mean for Afghan women and girls? Because the Afghan women and girls decided to call it gender apartheid, is to be recognized under international law, specifically on the crimes against humanity, to be considered as a crimes against humanity, to hold the Taliban accountable, so that the Taliban, what they are doing in Afghanistan, should not be repeated somewhere else, and no girls in the world should experience what the Afghan girls are experiencing today. So that is the term, and the Afghan women started advocating for it since 2023. And of course, Malala and many other champions in the world are championing, amplifying the voices that Afghan women have been raising in the past 5 years. It's, Kathy, so unfortunate. We are talking about it, we are raising awareness about it, and then we are turning to our allies, to our friends, to listeners, to supporters, to say that this is a reality and is a catastrophe inside the country, and they're locked. They are not allowed to talk. Every single minute of their lives are controlled. So therefore, we would like to take those messages out of Afghanistan and tell the world that this is real. And this is happening in real time in Afghanistan. And we would like to use the simplest way possible to explain that this is real, and it's structured, it is systematic, and it is, targeted.
Okay.
And they don't want to see women, to be as part of the society in the next decades.
Guys Yari, spokesperson for the Malala Fund, let me thank you for your time this morning.
You are listening to the National Briefing with Kathy Mutlatlana.
It's 56 rather. So before you go to bed tonight, check your voter registration. In fact, do it now, because at midnight, the roll for the 4th of November local government election will be closed. Defend Our Democracy says the job doesn't end with registering. However, citizens must also observe the election and hold councils to account. Wade Manning, Executive Director, Defend Our Democracy. Wade, what is it that you want to bring to our attention today? Good morning, Wade. All right, it looks like we're having an issue connecting with Wade Manning of Defend Our Democracy. And of course, one of the things that they want to do is conscientize South Africans in as far as the role and the responsibility that we have that goes just beyond casting our vote. Wade, I understand you're back on the line. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you. Good morning, Carol.
So you want South Africans to begin exercising their agency beyond the ballot. What must we be doing?
I think beyond the ballot is quite an important one. Often as South Africans, we wait for voting every 5 years, and in between it seems that nothing actually happens. And so I think a lot of the frustration also comes in there because there's no accountability that's been held for leaders during the time of voting in terms of election seasons. So essentially what we're saying is that there is an opportunity to go beyond the X this time around. Meaningful participation can bring about change. It starts with the vote, but it doesn't have to end there. And so observation is another way that you can step up on the 4th of November and be a part of democracy in action, so to speak. So you can join structures like our Election Watch Observer campaign, which seeks to have 5,000 election observers present in voting stations across the country on the 4th of November. So what we're saying essentially to citizens is rally to this call, take a stand for country duty, and come and observe the elections. Be that independent witness, that independent eye that can ensure that voting that happens on the 4th of November is credible, transparent, free, and fair.
Wade, you bring me to my next question, right? Because many people are going to think, do I need some form of qualification, prior experience to be considered a good election observer?
It's quite a common question in terms of observation work, but our observers are definitely not going in unprepared or unprotected. Every one of them is trained. And so over the next couple of months, we are going to be holding our observer training. Once it is that you have registered with us, you will then be taken through a series of training sessions where you actually get to understand what the voting process entails, what to look out for, what is considered normal, and what is considered a disruption or grievance in the voting station. Essentially, what this is meant to do is to be able to train citizens who are eligible to vote to actually understand what goes into ensuring electoral integrity. And so once you understand that process, once you understand what essentially you are going to be doing on the day, you then are able to, we've done it in a 3-step way to say you are going to watch, you are going to record, you are going to report. And all that data is then going to be filtered through in a fact-checked report that goes then straight through to the Commission to strengthen our election's own credibility, not to attack it, not to contest it, but to actually say that you were one of the 5,000 pairs of eyes who watched and observed that the elections were transparent, free, and fair.
Wade Manning, he's with Defend Our Democracy. So let's go out and register to be election reporters, election observers. It's time for your latest news update, and good morning.
Theft, accident, and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
In our top stories, ANC eThekwini shocked by murder of Ward 17 councillor, and Gauteng school overcrowding remains a major challenge. Good morning. The ANC in the eThekwini region has expressed shock at the murder of its councillor in Ward 17 in Klawater, west of Durban. Spusi Sokwela was gunned down yesterday while assisting people in his office. ANC eThekwini region convener
I'm Kathy Mutlatlana with you until 9 a.m. as always. So today we're back to our celebration vibes, our 90th anniversary celebration vibes, and bringing some of the voices of SAfm. I tell you what, I must be the most blessed young black girl in South Africa. Why? Because I get to sit in this chair and host the veterans of the veterans, you know, those that they carved the way. They showed us what's possible.
I am not that old. My word, Kathy.
Sir, have you looked in the mirror lately?
How do I get out of here?
Welcome home, Stephen Curtis. Welcome home.
Thank you, Kathy. It is so surreal. It's kind of wonderful to talk to you, who are, I presume, still stuck at Marion Hill, and I imagine still in Bombela and Cape Town traffic. I mean, there's part of me that hopes it's very bad in Cape Town because I'm just not a nice person. But it's kind of amazing. It's kind of weird. I never thought this would happen, actually. I thought that was that for, you know, a very long time. So thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very honored.
I'm so glad that it is happening, Stephen Groothuis. And I'm having a little bit of deja vu. We used to host a TV show together.
Yes.
And this is actually the first time we're hosting a radio show together. So Stephen Groothuis is joining me as co-host as we bring back some of the voices of SAfm that have really played a defining role in the 90 years. So more from Stephen shortly. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, South Africa's former High Commissioner to India has been recalled. This is after appearing with Jacob Zuma and Ajay Gupta. We'll get into that with Durko shortly. And the Madlanga Commission's second interim report is out, and it recommends action against senior police officers and alleged political fixers. We'll also take a look at that. And then Dr. Mavuso Msimang concludes his contribution on the reality check this week. And remember, the theme has been unpacking is that of migration. It's certainly gotten all of us talking, and he'll be rounding it up. We'll, of course, also make time for your calls, your WhatsApp voice notes. The conversation belongs to you, as always. The numbers to use to dial in 086 000 2032. That's the studio line, and the WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Smart business moves mean more cash flow. Switch to Outsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Here's Dr. Fahim from Matrix Dental.
We were with our previous insurers for many years prior to the switch. We found that Outsurance really understood our business needs. We are happy with our premiums. I wish we had switched sooner.
Get a quote to switch and save today. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 0800 60,000. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
Unleash your inner chef with Spar. Get up to 80% off on NutriFresh kitchen essentials when you buy products like 200-gram Nescafe Gold coffee jar or 220-gram pouch, excluding decaf, for $149.99. Save 50 Rand. Or 700ml all gold tomato sauce for $32.99. Save 10 Rand. Price is valid from 22 July till 10 August, while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Kathy Mutlatlana is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAfm Radio.
It's 14 after 7. Let's get into one of our big stories this morning. South Africa's High Commissioner to India, Anil Suklal, has been recalled after photographs placed him at a religious event with former President Jacob Zuma and Ajay Gupta. Durko is now proposing mandatory declarations from former presidents seeking state support abroad. They want to know who pays, who hosts them, who they meet, and why they meet. Question, of course, is what was the High Commissioner instructed to do and who authorized it? Crispin Piri speaks on behalf of Durko. He's on the line. Crispin, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kathy, and I heard a familiar voice with you in the studio.
Morning, Crispin. I know you miss me.
I was about to say Crispin couldn't help himself. He's like, hi, Stephen. All right. Crispin, South Africans have had lots of lingering questions over that visit of the former president, in particular the role, of our High Commissioner to India. Are you able to tell us now on the had been instructed by DIRCO to do when the former president was in India?
Yeah, let me just also clarify that he's been recalled for consultations. If we leave out the consultations and we just say recalled, it means he's being sanctioned, which is not yet the case. He's being recalled for further consultations on this matter. And how ordinarily this works is that a former president, they would submit their travel requirements to the presidency, because all of that is all of the benefits of the former president sit with the presidency, and part of that is facilitating their travels. And they would then write to DIRCO to say, former President X is going to a particular country, kindly attend to the diplomatic protocols that are required for their visit. And this would then mean that the ambassador would be, or high commissioner, would be instructed to then meet the former head of state at the country designate where they were, and then facilitate them through the airport normally. In this case, that is exactly what happened, but it seems that they were both, when our High Commissioner was also invited to the same event by the temple concerned. And we then have seen that this has then transpired. We saw the two pictures of them together there in a manner, of course, which has raised public concern. So we do believe that the High Commissioner, of course, as per the normal protocol, was correct to facilitate the former president. But then other questions do arise around how this invite to the former president was facilitated, who paid for it, how was the president ultimately at that temple.
So Crispin, there are two things. I want us to get to the latter shortly. Let's just deal with the role of the High Commissioner. So you are saying, in exercising his responsibility of helping facilitate, receive the former president, he did nothing wrong?
That's standard.
Okay. Then you talk about a personal invite that he had received to the temple. So him being present there, nothing wrong?
Yes.
So what is it exactly now that DIRCO is investigating or questioning him about? Why has he been recalled for consultations?
Well, there are a number of other issues that we do need to understand around some of the interlocutors that was required of him at that ceremony. And generally, we want to know what was the entire aim of this temple gathering, which I think is normal. But there are a number of other questions that I'm not able to reveal to you now that we will be probing still. But what is critical here for us is we have identified a gap where the former president, in particular President Zuma, who I must say is actually now a leader of an opposition party, has been going to foreign countries and taking positions that are very contrary to our foreign policy position. You will recall in Morocco, he made statements there that are contrary to our foreign policy position on Western Sahara. We now also recall in Uganda as well, there was an engagement there where he made pronouncements which seemed to communicate something of cooperation with the Ugandan government, but that's not his place to make such pronouncements. So we really want to get to a situation where we don't have a situation where the former heads of state find themselves in a country and articulating positions as if they are currently representing the government.
So Crispin, even if the commissioner did nothing wrong, I'm getting a sense from you that, and perhaps you're not saying it as straightforward as maybe I'm going to, Ajay Gupta is wanted in connection with state capture matters in South Africa. Do you as DIRCO believe that there was a level of duty and responsibility that the High Commissioner had in relation to any engagement or interactions that he may have had with Ajay Gupta?
Naturally, Kathy, of course, one would expect that because the the High Commissioner is required at some point to facilitate mutual legal assistance requests through the DIRCO, which would come from the Department of Justice. And of course, so we expect that the High Commissioner wouldn't put himself in a position where there are questions around that. But that's a natural question to ask. But I wouldn't want to get into the nitty-gritties of what the consultations with the ambassador would go into.
And let's talk then about this gap you've identified. So it's not only about the disclosures that you're wanting from the former presidents. It seems to me that there are also questions around how much support then the former presidents would be receiving from the state when it comes to these matters. Unpack that for me, please.
Not just how much support, but particularly what then happens when the country is put into disrepute in a way. And there's no question that the conduct that we've seen from the former president has really raised questions around what our position is on a number of matters, unfortunately. And so we then need to then say, well, there has to be a limit to what type of support we provide. And we must make it clear that this support does not endorse the positions that, in this case, a leader of opposition or a former head of state may take. So we don't want to create a situation where there is confusion around what our foreign policy is because of the support we provide to a former president.
Crispin Piri, no doubt the story far from over. We'll leave it there for this morning. He, of course, is with the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. I wonder what you make of that.
Durban, the promenade is calling and the purple wave is taking over the East Coast. It's time to lace up for the Hollywood Bets Durban 10-kilometer road race on Sunday, 30 August. The race covers the beautiful tour of the city, combining urban streets, scenic coastal roads, and stunning beachfront stretches with views of the Indian Ocean. Catch all the action live on SABC2 and SABC Plus from 7 a.m. on Sunday, 30th of August. The Hollywood Bets Durban 10-kilometer road race, brought to you by SABC Sports.
Running a small business means every rand counts. Thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month for my buckies and tools of trade. Now, I get to save some extra cash for my business and focus on giving my clients world-class service.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your buckies and tools of trade. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 for a quote today. My Way is a license is applied.
90 years of conversations. Recaptured, relived, and projected. SAfm.
It's 23 minutes now after 7. Quite weird for me to say that in so many ways. I'm Stephen Curtis. Kathy is still here watching over me very, very close. It's 23 minutes now after 7. Quite weird for me to say that in so many ways. I'm Stephen Curtis. Kathy is still here watching over me very, very closely in case I spill my coffee on the device or just don't really know what I'm doing. So thank goodness you're here, Kathy. I appreciate it. I don't know about you, but I'm finally getting a sense of some of the findings and recommendations of the Madlanga Commission. Remember, and you sort of have to keep up with all of the interim reports. I think they're on interim report 2. It was handed to the President back in May. And the Presidency saying yesterday it's now ordering the SAPS to institute disciplinary action against the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sabir, the Police Sergeant Funny Nkosi, and the person who claimed to be, a political fixer, Brown Makhotsi. The Presidency also says, and this is important, if needed, criminal charges must be instituted. David Africa is the director of the African Centre for Security and Intelligence Practice, also author of the book Lives on the Line. David, good morning to you. It's been a long time, so thanks for the time this morning. I mean, it would seem obvious to me, if you look at the testimony we heard against Sabir, Makhotsi and Nkosi, some action must follow, and the Presidency has probably done the right thing in recommending this action.
Yes, Stephen. Good morning to you. From what we've observed at the Commission, it's quite clear that within the police and maybe specifically in crime intelligence, there's been a consistent prioritization of committing instead of combating crime. And surely the Presidency is right to demand that action should be taken.
So I know the law is complicated and there are procedures and all sorts of things, but we watched the testimony. I mean, I don't see why it would need to take the presidency to recommend or order action. I mean, surely someone at the SAPS, the current National Acting Police Commissioner, Dampane, or any of the other leaders there would have been able to see this and go, okay, let's start this process ourselves. Why did the president have to kickstart it?
Well, firstly, Stephen, we obviously don't know, as a matter of fact, whether something has not yet been initiated in the police. Although I suspect that there is such a paralysis there, I mean, partially because of what's been laid bare at the commission, that we should also not be surprised if nothing is happening. And so in that sense, I think it's important for the presidency to make it clear that action is expected. Now, you are very correct, and this is very important to note that there's a difference between appearing in front of and being, let's say, exposed at the commission and actually being successfully prosecuted.
Sure.
And I think it's important that people do not get ahead of themselves to also just assume that people are actually guilty. As in legally speaking guilty, because that's an entirely different matter. But I think it's an appropriate intervention, to be honest.
You talk about paralysis. The president got this report back in May. It's now August. Do you think the president's been a little slow to act? I mean, surely he's got legal people who will read it and give him appropriate advice. But, I mean, you know, in a way, we're all still kind of back where we were when I came onto SAfm 8 years ago. We're looking for people in orange overalls, and we just never seem to see it, and no one seems to do anything. And I think that's the frustration I'm sort of feeling. That, I mean, surely the presidency could have acted a little earlier too?
Yeah. Look, Stephen, there are two things here. Firstly, we are obviously seeing live on our screens playing out a drama about incompetence and corruption within the police, right? No one needed a commission in order to know that there is that level of corruption and incompetence in the police.
Sure.
It's clear. It's been clear to you who's been working or looking at this for 6 years, and to me who's been looking at it for even longer, that is a problem. So there should have been action well in advance of a commission that's been established about a year ago. Now, having established the commission and having given it the importance that it obviously deserves, one would expect very quick turnarounds to its recommendations. And so you are right in saying that that though the president, obviously, or the presidency has to be deliberate and considered in what it comes up with in responding to the commission's recommendations, that given the priority of the commission, that one would expect a sharper turnaround. And also, actually, action that goes beyond what is recommended, because the president is not constrained by a commission. The president is the president, is the executive authority of the republic. And there are many other things that obviously should be done from what we've seen in the commission that doesn't need a recommendation from it.
I'm fascinated by the position of Fani Masemola, the suspended National Police Commissioner, and as far as I know, there's been no recommendations or findings made against him, and I think it would be too premature anyway. But if you look at the way it seems now how he was treated by IDAC, who was led at the time by Andrea Johnson, the sort of claim that perhaps he was charged with Vusimuzi Katmatlala to embarrass him, do you think it's possible Masemola actually comes back to his position?
I don't know, Stephen. I don't know in the sense that, you have a drama, right, that is playing out. Now, in the first instance, this drama is playing out in bits and pieces. And by that I mean that it does not represent the entire story of what is happening, even with everything that's been exposed at the commission. So I would say that the commissioner having been suspended, that things should take their logical course and should be done properly, right? Whether he comes back or not, he must not come back because it turns out someone lied about something. I mean, he must come back because he's been cleared.
Yes.
And I think that is very important. Yeah.
David, Africa, that's such an important point. Thank you. Really do appreciate that. The director of the African Centre for Security and Intelligence Practice and author of the book Lives on the Line. Kathy, at 7:30, I have no idea what happens next.
What happens next is that we go over to the news desk and Musa standing by with the latest headlines. I know you're wanting to get a word in, you want to engage, Stephen. We're going to give you a chance to do that, right? Later on in the hour, we'll be taking some of your calls, but not before we get through the reality check. And good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Kathy. In the headlines, Cooperative Governance Minister Velinkosini Hlabisa is expected to proclaim the election date today. The proclamation of November 4th as the election day will trigger an immediate legislative freeze on the voters' roll at midnight tonight. The ANC in the eThekwini region has expressed shock at the murder of its councillor in Ward 17 in Klaarwater, west of Durban. Spusi Sokwela was gunned down yesterday while assisting people in his office. And the South African Weather Service has warned of an extreme cold front expected to reach parts of the country this weekend. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We started Ekurhuleni with that closure of the N12 still in place between Pitfontein and the Kingsway exit to Davyton. That's a fatal pedestrian collision. There is a backlog of traffic, as you can imagine, once you get east of Benoni, as you line up into that Pitfontein exit and then divert into the Davyton area and back down along Kingsway. A lot of traffic building up in that area. The N3 North, coming in through Sprayview, we were reporting some delays. It's still a little bit slow around Leondale, so from Vosloorus side. And the N1 South, the breakdown between Allendale and Maclue still there. Pressure on as you come through the bottom of Midrand. Roadworks in Pretoria East on both Solomon Mslogu and Gaasfontein, so around that junction it's all heavy. And big traffic inbound on Transaranya, no lights at Double FM Como. Big traffic on SKM Paflali, no lights in the Marabastad area this morning. Durban side, the N2 running north is slow from the M7. There's a breakdown just after the M7 and then another breakdown near Westwood Mall, so you've got a bit of extra pressure this morning. The M7 going down towards the N2 from Queensborough, that's looking quite slow as well. Cape Town, the earlier crash on the N2 inbound at Jan Smuts Drive has been causing delays from the airport. Pretty heavy this morning on the N2. No traffic lights. M7, R300 out of Mitchell's Plain. No traffic lights. N7, Ford Trekker Road, Heart of Goodwood. All very busy conditions around those two big junctions. Oh, and there's just been a crash outbound at Baden-Powell Drive. That's causing a delay from Khayelitsha heading towards Somerset West Territory. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
At 7:33, Zai Khan.
How do Zai Khan? Is that you? You look 20 years younger.
What?
I left and now look how young she looks. Wow. I don't even want to know. Isn't there a rugby match tonight?
It's the national.
Durban?
It's
No,
the national briefing effect, Stephen.
Wow.
You know, youthful vibrance, energy.
Is that why I don't fit in?
I was about to say, can we just keep it honest, Stephen, for a change?
Radio's show business, Zai.
Oh, well, good to have you back, Stephen.
Thank
Even
you.
if it's just for a day.
You're so polite.
Anyway, nice sharing the microphone with you too, Kathy. But yeah, it's good to have Stephen.
So I'm the guest today. I'm the guest.
I'm just sitting
host.
here, ladies.
Yeah, well, anyway, some partnerships, I guess, are just worth bringing in. What can I say? Well, speaking of partnerships, there's a bit of a reunion that's happening tonight. We have got the Stormers. They're taking on the All Blacks. Can you believe it? And the New Zealand team will be playing the provincial side in South Africa for the first time in 30 years. Coach John Dobson says the fixture is crucial to preserving the tradition of international rugby tours.
First came out wrong time, you're going to stuff up your pre-season, injured, do you rest, protect guys, you're not quite right for the URC and that sort of thing. But it's just clear, the players want to play it, the magnitude of it's got bigger and bigger quite quickly, you know what I mean? And we never run a pre-season like this, but this game, so we divide our pre-season into these 3 or 4 weeks up to this game, then we'll give them a week off, and then we'll do a normal truncated pre-season.
More action. Orlando Pirates begin the defense of their MTN8 title against Durban City tomorrow, with captain Inkosinati Sibisi backing the club's refreshed squad to compete for every trophy on offer this season. The Buccaneers have bolstered their ranks with 8 new signings following last month's FIFA World Cup. Sibisi believes the added depth will be crucial as Pirates juggle domestic and continental commitments. Now, the MTN quarterfinal kicks off at Orlando Stadium 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Meanwhile, Sekhukhune United captain Daniel Cardoso has broken his silence over the confusion surrounding his future, insisting he never wanted to leave Babina Noko. The club announced his departure in early July before reversing course and confirming a new deal just days later. Here's Cardoso saying the entire episode caught him by surprise.
Yeah, I think it was just a bit of a miscommunication. I don't know how people got the statement that I was leaving. I was always committed to the club. A few months back, they already made a choice, and I'm happy to be here. You know, like I say, I'm committed to the club, and I think I've worked well with the club. So yeah, I don't know where all of that arose from. So it was all just nonsense in the media.
Now, Banyana know they'll have to produce one of their best performances of the tournament when they face the host Morocco tomorrow. They're looking forward to going through as they just squeeze through the group stages. They now have set their sights firmly on the last 4. Here's defender Fikile Magama.
We're trying to adapt to these conditions. It's very hot this side. So I think going forward, we just have to fight, be with one another, fight for each other. Then anything is possible. For the past 3 games, we didn't play according to what we know. The opponents were taller than us. They didn't allow us to keep the ball a lot. We were playing most of the time long ball. So I think going forward, Morocco is going to give us what we know already. We just have to keep the ball and play what we know.
And finally, cycling. The Mauritian champion Kim Lecourt Pinard produced a memorable performance to win Stage 7 of the Tour de France Femme. The AG Insurance Sodal rider timed her sprint to perfection after bridging across the leaders, claiming her second career Tour stage victory. Marlon Risser continues in the yellow jersey, holding a 12-second advantage over Demi Vollering ahead of today's summit finish. We'll be back in the saddle with more sport at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAfm.
Happy Friday, Ndauleng. Do I have a nice surprise for you?
Would you say it's nice, Ndauleng? How are you?
I'm well, thanks. What a treat to hear you at this time of the day, Stephen. Are you well?
Yeah, it is a little early, I must say. And you know, I woke up this morning a lot, like 2 hours later than I would if I was actually hosting the show, and I reminded myself of why I don't anymore. So, Ndauleng, what are you leading with? There's Mteto Nyati's interview yesterday, which was astonishing. We've seen all sorts of things happening on the JSE, but it seems our property market is leading the recovery.
That's right, Stephen. We are seeing South Africa once again being the world's top performing direct property market, suggesting confidence is returning to a sector that was hit hard by years of high interest rates. Now, in a Business Day article, the South African Property Owners Association says investors generated returns of almost 12% in 2025 as rental income remained strong and property values started recovering. Now, the rebound matters because a healthier commercial property market can encourage investment in shopping centers and industrial buildings, while also benefiting listed property funds held by many retirement savers. Even so, the sector still faces risks from geopolitical tensions and uncertainty over the path of interest rates. Moving over to some company news, SAPI is calling on government to move faster to protect the country's paper industry from a surge in low-priced imports, warning that local manufacturers are struggling to compete. Now, the company says products including office paper, newsprint, and toilet paper are being sold below its cost of production, threatening investment and jobs across the forestry, and paper value chain. Now, the concerns come as rival Mondi is also seeking anti-dumping protection, with the International Trade Administration Commission finding preliminary evidence that cheap office paper imports are harming local producers. The debate now shifts to whether the government will strengthen trade protections for domestic industry. Now, SAPI was one of the biggest gainers on the JSE overnight, up about 12% following a more positive outlook. That, however, wasn't enough to lift the broader market, with the all-share index closing in the red. And by the looks of things, we could be in for another choppy session, with sentiment mixed amid uncertainty around the deliberations or lack thereof in the Gulf, pushing oil to around $84 a barrel this morning. Traders are also taking a bit of a chill pill ahead of US non-farm payrolls, which should give us a sense of the health of the US labor market and influence the Fed's next monetary policy decisions. Now, US futures are flat, while Asian stocks are on track to end the week mixed. The rand in the meantime steady at 16.36 to the dollar, 22 to the pound, and 18.85 to the euro. And that's where I leave things. I'll be back bright and early next Tuesday with your news, moving market activity.
Running a truck fleet business in this economy is tough. Fuel, maintenance, staff, the costs never stop. That's why I switched to My Way Business Insurance. Now I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. These savings go a long way to keeping my fleet on the move.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your trucks and buses. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 for a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
SABC Plus has reached an exciting milestone, surpassing 3 million registered users and cementing its position as one of South Africa's fastest growing streaming platforms, bringing together live TV, radio, sport, news, video on demand and catch-up content. SABC Plus continues to connect millions of South Africans with the content they love anytime, anywhere. This achievement reflects the platform's growing popularity and the SABC's ongoing commitment to delivering world-class digital experiences. Download the SABC Plus app today on iOS or Google Play Store, or visit sabcplus.com to join the millions already streaming.
Reality check on the National Briefing.
All right, you're still tuned into the National Briefing. We're getting into our reality check, our final segment this week, at least from our contributor for the week, Mavuso Msimang, a retired civil servant and former freedom fighter. Mr. Msimang, good morning to you. Thank you again. And I must say, what a journey it has been this week. You specifically chose the theme of migration, and you've been pushing us to think about the various aspects of how we have ended up with the tensions, with the problem that we sit with as a country today. So you're going to be concluding your contribution for the week. Where do you want to start things off today?
Thank you very much, Kathy. First of all, I greet my younger brother, Stephen Protis.
Mavuso, it's wonderful to talk to you. Thank you.
And then to thank Kathy herself very, very much for inviting me to participate on this platform and share my views with fellow South Africans and others who live in this beautiful country of ours. I've been listening to your respected, responsible, and mostly respectful listeners, and I sincerely thank all of them for being active citizens. Local government elections are due on the 4th of November, and I hope those who qualify and are in good health will set aside time and exercise their right to elect people who will best serve their constituents. Please allow me also to restate my beliefs. Firstly, not a single person in Mzansi who is in Mzansi illegally should be allowed to live here. Secondly, The institutions of government that are charged with the responsibility of managing immigration and migrant matters should carry out their responsibilities without fear, favor, or corruption. And thirdly, they must be adequately resourced so that they can effectively and efficiently carry out their onerous duty. And I would like to say that the Constitution of South Africa 1996 must not be changed in order to exclude people who live in this country from benefits that are essential for the sustenance of human beings, whatever their places of origin. I also implore our government not to take South Africa out of the 1951 Geneva Convention on Refugees. Neither should we leave the 1969 OAU-AU Convention on Economic Refugees. Doing that would be a betrayal of the spirit and letter of the 1955 Freedom Charter, which is the foundational document of our Constitution. Now let's listen a little bit to the voices of the wise famous. One says, in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. So says Albert Einstein. Then Rome Emmanuel encourages us never to let a serious crisis go to waste. He says we should see it as an opportunity to do things we thought we could not do before. At the beginning of this week, the Sunday Times published an article that I wrote, which was headlined, Development, Not Deportation, the Case for a SADC Marshall Plan. The headline is catchy, all right, but if I must reiterate this, if I must reiterate this, sorry, without taking the law into our own hands, anyone, I must say again, who is in our country illegally should be deported. They should only be allowed back if they come through the front door. So let's not have arguments about illegal or undocumented. No one who is not supposed to be here should stay here. But they must come back through the front door if that's what must needs be. Now, I would like us to remember South Africans right now, especially sports lovers, soccer ones, are rubbing their hands gleefully in anticipation of the resumption of the 2026-27 top flight campaigns of the European clubs, such as the Premier League, the La Liga, the Serie A, which the seasons take off later this month. You know what? Because of European Union labor law, specifically the landmark 1955 Bosman ruling, soccer players holding citizenship in any EU member state have the right to the free movement of workers. This means a team of France, for instance, can theoretically field 11 German, Italian, or Spanish players without restriction. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could one day have the same situation in Southern Africa? What's amazing is that fans love their clubs. PSG, Manchester City, AC Milan, Porto, name them, Arsenal, regardless of how many foreign players they field in a match. All they want are players who score goals that win trophies. In the article I referred to, I challenge SADC countries to consolidate and lead the way and show ECOWAS, that's the Economic Community of West African States, COMESA, the Common Markets for Eastern and Southern Africa, and others, to show them that if Africans put their minds to it, they would be able to emulate and possibly outdo the European Union. Ka gore rena le botho. We have Ubuntu. We would obviously start with the baby steps, but in the fullness of time, if it takes 10 years or even longer, we would be able to trade with the rest of the world as equals. And I cite the example of assets that exist openly in SADC that would enable us to do that. It's the Grand Iga Dam, it is the Mozambique gas, it is Namibia and its oil, it is South Africa and its strong financial infrastructure, it is Zambia with its unique positioning as a strategic and agricultural heart of Southern Africa. It's all these things. South Africa, let me repeat, would have the role of an anchor, not a benefactor. It is the region's largest economy and financial center. Its banks, logistics, networks, and skills base can help unlock the necessary investment. I see some opportunities where many people see problems. Thank you very much for allowing me to state my views this week. Thanks, Kathy.
Sure. What a note to leave it on. And, you know, Dr. Msimang, as you were speaking, funny enough, Stephen was sharing his own anecdote of having lived in Britain. And I think, Stephen, it's important that you share it because it falls right in line with what Mr. Msimang is saying today.
So strange things would happen as a result of these rulings. You would have a situation where you'd have a sports team. So I played rugby. I mean, not great rugby, but rugby. And you would have clubs where the second team was better than the first team because the first team was only allowed 2 people who were not from the European Union. And in London at the time, this was in the late 90s, you would have had lots of players, lots of, ordinary people who played rugby on weekends from New Zealand and South Africa. And obviously we're better than anyone that England's ever produced. And that meant the second team was often so much stronger than the first team.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And that shows you what happens. I mean, the migration team would have been much stronger than the team of people who only allowed 2 non-EU players.
Yeah, and it's about the possibility, and that's what Mr. Msimang is leaving us with. What is the possibility of what we can achieve as a region? So we are talking about after the Africa Free Trade Continental Area, right? There are all of these mechanisms that in principle we have agreed to as a continent, but what is it that we are actioning to give life to it? And do we realize the opportunity cost of not doing anything about it, right? Of things staying as they are.
You know, if you look, Kathy, around the world at if it's to have integration, to merge, well, not to merge, but to make borders less hard, it's always the biggest, strongest, richest country that resists it the most. So when South Africans say, we don't want this or we don't want migration, they're no different from Americans or from British people and Brexit. It's exactly the same dynamic. And I say this to remind ourselves that we're exactly the same as everyone else. We must remember that. We're not different. There's nothing evil about what we are. That's the point I'm trying to make. The second thing, though, is that without the big economy, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you have to do that, is the way that I see it.
I want to know, how do you see it? The numbers to use for our studio line, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. And we'll take your WhatsApp voice notes too on 0614 104 107.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good Morning. Just a reminder, if you're trying to get out of Joburg, Ekurhuleni side towards Mpumalanga, the N12 is closed. It's a fatal pedestrian crash between Pitfontein Road and Kingsway. So between Pitfontein and Davyton, that section of the N12 is closed. It's a big backlog marching back towards Snake Road, and then diversions in, out and through the other side of Davyton. Give yourself plenty of time to get through that. Staying east, a crash between Barbara Road and Edenvale on the R24 coming down towards Joburg, causing some delays. Pretty big traffic into Pretoria, Eskia and Puthley at Blood Street. Those traffic lights are down. That is a heavy one today as you line up into the CBD. Transurania Double FM Como had some traffic light issues, and Paul Kruger from Capital Park into the city centre remains fairly busy as well. Durban, the M7, that's queued up between Queensborough and the N2. If you're on your way to the Bluff, there's some traffic to work through. N2 between the M7 and Westwood Mall is busy now, and there's some congestion on the M4, the Ruth First Highway around Virginia Airport, both ways going to and from Umhlanga, very slow. Cape Town, a lot of it's really busy actually this Friday. Routes like Ottery Road towards the M5, Duval Road towards Main Road, down in the Deep River area, Crombourne Road from Jan Smuts across to Milner through Rondebosch. That's really slow going. No traffic lights this morning. M7 R300, so some delays out of Mitchell's Plain area, and Robert Sabukwe heading from Belleville South. Big traffic this morning past a crash at Yellowwood and then into that Belleville taxi rank area. Very slow going. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Move with purpose from the first to the final job in a Hino 700 truck tractor. Available in either 410 or 450 horsepower. It gives you the flexibility to choose the right amount of power to suit your unique fleet and logistical needs. The Hino 700 truck tractor comes with a 6-year drivetrain warranty and 6-year service plan from as little as 1.9 million rand excluding VAT. Contact your nearest Hino dealer today to keep you moving. Offer available while stocks last. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
Yo, yo, listen, casual day, yo, one beat, one drum, hear the sound, let the rhythm move around, beats is one, rhythm matters, sticker on, bring your beats, Friday, 4 September, hit the streets, join the cause, it's casual day, .co.za, beats is one.
This is a SABC supported initiative.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Here's the thing about insurance. You only find out how good it is when it's time to claim. With Outsurance, you've got that peace of mind. The Ombudsman, an independent body that rules on complaints, confirmed in their 2025 annual report that Outsurance had the lowest overturned ratio of complaints. Isn't it time you switch to the insurer where you always get something out? Call 08600 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Call SAfm now on 086 000 2032.
All right, you're still tuned in to the national briefing. Stephen Grootes is our voice of SAfm that we've brought in as part of our 90th celebrations, 90th anniversary celebrations. Stephen, I've got some listeners on the line for you. We're going to see if we can squeeze them both in before we head to news. We're going to start off with Teboho. Teboho, you're in Katlehong. Good morning.
Good morning, Katie. Good morning. And if I were to say happy birthday to SAfm. And further to that, allow me to say happy Women's Month to all South African women.
Thanks, Teboho. You want to, I don't know, you realize Stephen is on the line, right? Or you don't want to say hi to him, you just want to talk about him.
Hello, Stephen. Hello, my good sir. Hello, Mr. Grootes. Yes, man, the reason I called is because what a pleasant surprise to hear your voice on SAfm again. Man.
Thank you.
You know, I'm always listening to you on the other station, the Sentence station. You know,
wow.
If I were to say, you're quite a professional, sir.
Oh, well, thank you, Teboho.
You know, I once called you and mentioned you and other radio personalities as would be, you know, I started listening to you when you were doing your midnight slot on the other side
Wow,
of
that was a long
the
time
stage.
ago.
That was during Reedy, after Reedy would do your show. And you once interviewed the Minister of Minerals, Kote Mantashe. And the level of professionalism that you showed, that's when I was like, damn.
No,
really,
thank you.
This is the man to do, isn't you?
Thank you.
And yeah, congratulations on your other show. And definitely you are the perfect person to replace Bruce Whitfield.
Wow.
Yeah, man, if I were to say.
Tebogo, thank you. You're so kind. And just remember, Mr. Curtis is still my father and he's still with us and I'm still Stephen. Tebogo, thank you.
Stephen, I'm looking at the clock. We're going to have to pause it there. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, I'm going to be turning the heat on Stephen. So he's going to be my guest. And then we're also going to take a lot more calls and contributions, interactions with him too. So please don't feel too bad. We are going to come back to this. For now, it's 8 o'clock and is standing by with your latest news update.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, Hlabisa issues last-minute registration plea and Weather Service warns of intense cold front. Good morning. Cooperative Governance Minister Vilenkusini Hlabisa is expected to proclaim the election date today. The proclamation of November 4th as the election day will trigger an immediate legislative freeze on the voters' roll at midnight tonight. With just hours left before the online registration closes, Hlabisa has urged unregistered citizens to heed the final call.
This will be my last clarion call before the voters' roll closes midnight tonight to all the people of South Africa, young and old, who have not checked their status in the website of IEC or visiting IEC offices. They can do so today before the offices closes, but online they can do so until a minute before midnight. People must not wait for the last moment, especially our youth.
The ANC in the eThekwini region has expressed shock at the murder of its councillor in Ward 17 in Clarwater, west of Durban. Spusi Sokwela was gunned down yesterday while assisting people in his office. ANC eThekwini region convener Tabanyu Nyabusa says the motive for the killing is unknown.
He died while he was serving his community. He died in his office where he normally served the people of Ward 17. He was a very disciplined councillor, if I may speak in my capacity as a speaker of council. It is painful that at the end of our term, at the end of our 5 years, we are losing a councillor before the 4th of November. But we hope that police will investigate and give us a report that is positive of this criminal being arrested.
The Matlanga Commission of Inquiry will resume with hearings next Tuesday, with National Coloured Congress leader Fadil Adams set to testify. Yesterday, head of investigations and operations at IDAC, Matthew Susoko, told the Commission there were times he could not stand up for what was right because he believed those who do so are often victimized. He was responding to questions on whether the victimization he experienced at IPID made him fear similar repercussions if he challenged wrongdoing at IDAC. Commission Chairperson, retired Justice Mbuyiseni Matlanga, challenged his stance, saying such an attitude was not expected of a leader.
The problem with that is if you want to be a leader, which you are, you should not put up your hand to be appointed as a leader. If that's your attitude, you just should not put up your hand to be a leader. In fact, standing up to authority may even be expected of officials who are by far junior to you. So with you, it's worse.
9 learners from Mahoba High School outside of Polokwane will appear in court today on charges of assault. Police spokesperson Malisela Lidwaba says they were arrested after allegedly assaulting a security guard at the school.
During the confrontation, learners allegedly insulted the complainant using offensive and degrading language. They also allegedly pushed him, causing him to fall and sustain an injury to his right hand. Police arrested all 9 suspects, who were later released on warning to appear in court. The accused are expected to appear before Mangwe Magistrate Court. Police investigations are continuing and additional charges may be added as the investigation progresses.
And finally, the South African Weather Service has warned of an extreme cold front expected to reach parts of the country this weekend. The system is forecast to bring heavy rain, strong winds, bitterly cold temperatures and snowfall over parts of the Western, Northern and Eastern Cape. Authorities have urged residents to prepare for hazardous travel conditions and possible disruptions over the long weekend. Weather Service forecaster Kagisho Nakedi.
We are looking at the cold front that is currently approaching. So the cold front is expected to make landfall on Saturday around the afternoon. The cold front is going to bring isolated showers and rain along the south coast. That includes places like Cape Town and as well as George.
Recapping the top story, Cooperative Governance Minister Velenkusini Hlabisa is expected to proclaim the election day today. The proclamation of November 4th as the election day will trigger an immediate legislative freeze on the voters' roll at midnight. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Deciding to skip the gym may cost you that smoothie reward, but deciding to stay with your current car insurance could be costing you thousands of rands in savings a year. With Outsurance, 48-year-old Sylvia saves an incredible 802 Rand a month on her 2019 BMW X1. Switch to Outsurance today. You could be one quote away from having more money in your pocket every month. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SAfm Sports headlines, the countdown is on. The Stormers host the All Blacks tonight, while the Springboks complete preparations for tomorrow's test against Argentina. And Banyana fine-tuning preparation for tomorrow night's WAFCON match against the host Morocco. We'll have all the details around 8:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
We start Nekaraleni side of Gauteng with the N12 still closed at Pitfontein. So there's a big queue going from Snake Road at Benoni through to Pitfontein, then everybody off on a reroute through Daveyton. Very, very slow going. The road closed there due to a fatal pedestrian collision scene earlier. R24 between Barber Road and Edenvale on your way to Joburg, having left the airport, a crash there causing some delays as well. Midrand not looking too bad. There is a breakdown just after Buccleuch, which will have you slowing up coming through from Allendale Road. Eski and Pathlele at Blood Street, no traffic lights. That's the big queue as you pick up a route from the Mopoli Highway and line up into central Pretoria this morning. Durban's M7 eastbound, very slow from Queensborough, all backed up down towards the N2. That's a problem if you're going towards the Bluff area this morning. There's also been a collision now on the M4. It's at, between Virginia Airport and the Swapo Durban North exit. Very heavy coming in from Umhlanga, and some delays getting up from Blue Lagoon towards that scene as well. Cape Town a crash on the N2 outbound just past Baden Powell. That's a big queue passing Khayelitsha on your way out towards Somerset West. The N2 inbound between Robert Sibukwe and Hospital Bend is busy, and a collision scene now on the N1 inbound at the ramp to Okavango Road. That's causing delays both directions through that Brackenfell area. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Kathy Mutlatlana on the National Briefing.
It's 8 after 9 o'clock. You're listening to the National Briefing. A very good morning and warm welcome if you've just tuned in. I'm Kathy Mutlatlana with you until 9 o'clock. So it's our 90th anniversary here at SAfm. We're bringing the voices of this station. And you've already heard his voice if you're with us in the last hour. But Stephen Groothuis is our co-host for the day. You know, he walked in and he guided South Africans through those pandemic moments. And he was a trusted voice in a shaky time in our country. I'm going to ask him about that, right? And then we'll also get into a question none of us can avoid. And that's why we're bringing these old voices back. What is the future of public broadcasting in South Africa? What do we need to be doing to strengthen public broadcasting? And as always, you are part of that conversation. 086 000 2032, the number to dial for the studio line, and your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. We'll, of course, also round off the hour with Built in Mzansi. Today we focus on the trading floor that has opened up. This is in Sandton, 1,200 small businesses, right, fighting for an opportunity to showcase their organically grown, manufactured products. And we'll find out more about that a little later on in the hour. Rob is standing by with your traffic. Zai has your sport.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
This Sunday evening at 7 on the Tastemaster Professional, our chefs whip up something sweet for the soul as they head to Bertus Basson's latest restaurant, Ongetem, in the heart of the mother city, to celebrate winter desserts. It might be cold outside, but things are heating up in the kitchen. Catch all the drama on the Tastemaster Professional. Sunday at 7, repeat Saturday at 4:30 and Sunday at 3:30, only on SABC2.
Kathy Mutlatlana is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAfm Radio.
He's an award-winning journalist. You know, in entertainment, they have the triple threats, right? You can sing, you can dance, you can act.
Can't do any of those.
In broadcasting, in journalism, I think we also have our own triple threat, right? You do TV, you do print, you do radio. And we're sitting now with a triple threat, Stephen Groothuis. And, you know, he came into, it didn't start in 2018, but he took over this platform under SAfm Sunrise in 2018. That was the time of state capture. And soon after that, we would be faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, and he was our trusted voice during those times. The good thing is that, of course, he's not completely lost to radio, right? Because he's just down the road from us at Prime Media 702. And Cape Talk, where he's hosting the evening business show, right? But Stephen, it's such a pleasure to have you back on SAfm bright and early in the morning. You and I, ironically, started off in Prime Media, so maybe just a little bit of history of Stephen and I. I walked into the Prime Media newsroom as an intern. And, Stephen Grootes was already a senior reporter. He was already blowing the lights out by then, breaking stories every single day. So I've basically grown up looking up to this guy. And I don't know if much has changed, but Stephen Grootes, it's such a pleasure to have you here in this platform in particular.
Kathy, thank you. It's amazing to sort of be here again. It's amazing to see Zelma still behind the desk and drinking my coffee. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me. You've been very generous in inviting me into your space. So thank you. And it's wonderful to be on air with you again.
I want to know, Stephen, you and Zelma were speaking just off air about the work that you had to do in building the breakfast show when you took over. So what was it like in April 2018 when you first started behind the mic?
The story really starts with Claudie Motsoeneng. Yeah. He's a fraud and he's, frankly, in my view, a criminal. And good luck, Claudie, with the complaint to the BCCSA with that. To me personally, please, Stephen Grootes. Thanks, Claudie. So what happened was the SABC's credibility in the English language space in particular had become really eroded. And I say the English language space because there was competition from other English radio stations. Wasn't the case for many of the other languages. And what that meant was that the audience had dropped significantly. It was very low. There were still, thankfully, dedicated listeners, dedicated callers. I was still, when I look back at it, and I'm so glad to see that Sakina Kamwendo was still on the SABC because she was so brave during that time. She did things that I can't even imagine doing, including speaking to the public protector, Thuli Madonsela, at the time, about a report that was critical of Claudie Motsoeneng. It's amazing. So I came into the space just after President Cyril Ramaphosa had become president. Claudie Motsoeneng had been gone for about a year. And there were lots of challenges. The one is, and I remember Joe Chloe did a report into the newsroom across the road at the SABC, and he said that people here are hurt, they're in trauma, and no one's helped them. And that was the case for the whole building. People really, they needed a hug, they needed to be listened to, they needed a kind of rebuilding process that I'm afraid to say probably still hasn't happened. The second thing is that the space of breakfast on SAfm had been occupied correctly by news and current affairs from the very early 1990s during the transition. And this was the first time that SAfm was taking charge of its own breakfast show from 6 to 9 in a long time. And I actually didn't realize that. It took me a long time to realize what had actually happened and why some people were still traumatized by that change. And it must have been very traumatic for them. When I realized, I was horrified and how they had been treated. And then the third thing was it meant that the management at SAfm at the time, none of whom are here any longer, had no experience of running a breakfast show, which is not necessarily their fault, but it meant we didn't have the right resources. So Themba Dlamini, who is an amazing producer and sadly lost to the profession, I understand, Mdu, and you'll remember Mduduzi Maqobela, who I'm still in touch with, also lost to radio, unfortunately. And the two of them had to work very hard. And normally in a breakfast show, as you do now, you have sort of two producers during the day and an afternoon producer who sets up all the interviews, phone Stephen and make sure Stephen will be here. We didn't have that. No one had thought about it. And I was like, how can you not think about it? And so it was a tremendous amount of work. And the other thing was there wasn't a culture of calling in between 6 and 8. So from 8 to 9 o'clock, there had been, various debate programs that had a long history and an honorable history through John Perlman, Sakina, many people. And so there was a bit of appetite there. But at 6:30, if you opened the lines, no one was interested. So that was very tough. And it meant that Stephen had to do a lot of talking.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing. And it does, when you do a big change like that, from strict current affairs format to what I call a kind of news talk radio format, it takes the audience a while. It takes me a while. It takes everyone a while to get into your groove. But I think by the end of the 2019 election period, and I said to him, at the time, and Stanza had started to join us, I said, look, let's just do elections all day. Let's just do elections for the 3 hours. There's a lot going on. And I mean, there are problems with that approach, but we did. And it worked in the audience figures. And we had managed to double them by the end of the 2019 elections. It was one of my proudest things.
Sure. Stephen, I won't even, talk about those numbers, because I think by the time you left, you had not only doubled them from what they were in 2019, they were sitting a lot higher than that. And, you were on air trying to map or chart away with this new roadmap that you and the producers were working on. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
COVID hit.
I found when I realized what was going to happen, I obviously was talking to my family. I remember calling my mom and saying, "Oh my word, I'm going to go through this and I'm on air and this is hard." I actually phoned my mentor, who doesn't work for the SABC, works for someone else. And he sent me such a message that really clung to. He said, "Just stay curious." And I was very grateful to him for that. And I work with him now, and I'm very grateful to have him there. So I remember saying to Zelma, to Stanza and Mdu, and I might tear up when we talk about this. I said, "Look, we can probably all work from home, but I don't think we should. I think the country needs to hear us sounding better than SAfm's ever sounded. It needs to be more reliable. The technical stuff needs to work all the time. The news must happen on time with a voice that you know. And this means that this is going to be tough for us, and we're going to feel quite isolated, but we'll have each other." I remember phoning a business person, Ray Machlaka, and saying, will you do this? There's really nothing in it for you, but at the end of the pandemic, you'll have done this. And he said yes. Immediately. Didn't even think about it. Said yes. And that's what we did. And I remember the time. I remember in the morning, the first morning, the Friday, the lockdown started on the Friday. The lockdown started on the Friday. And as I drove in, usual time, with my letter saying that I was an essential worker, I was very, very pleased with my letter.
Yeah.
I drove past a bakery truck, dropping off bread in the usual place at the usual time. And that's how I started the show. As I said, this is still happening. We're going to be fine. And it was difficult. There was, and I must confess, I did think that this was an important moment for SAfm. We had to do what SAfm was designed to do. And I think it was probably also easier on breakfast, because I think by 9 o'clock people were tired of the pandemic and they needed to listen to something else. So I'm sorry, Kathy, you were coming after that. But you might have found that people weren't as interested in it by then. And we did something which was new, which was we brought in a sort of, I don't know if it really worked, but we tried at 8:20 to have something cheerful, something science, something different, just to lift the gloom, eh?
Yeah.
So it was hard.
What's important about what you have said in terms of the approach that you and the team took at the time is an awareness that whatever tone you're setting was a tone that would be received by the nation, right? So it would set a particular mood in the nation. It would say something to South Africans in terms of how they're receiving this COVID-19 moment. And it speaks to the power of public broadcasting that at a given point when the world around us seems to be falling apart, we all need a place to turn to where we know that whatever is being said here is true, is credible, is reliable, and goes straight to the heart of the mandate of public broadcasting.
Absolutely. During that time, Afrobarometer was doing surveys. And about a year into the pandemic, they released a survey that said that broadcast media was the most trusted institution in the country. I don't think that's ever happened before. And it was, I think, private broadcasters, so commercial broadcasters, their sort of approval rating was 62%, and the public broadcaster was 60%. And if you had done a similar survey during, the state capture era, I think the figures would have been very different. And I think that was the pandemic. And I've thought about that a lot, and I think a couple of things. The one was that you were seeing the experts and the ministers, William Kiese at the time, being interviewed and interrogated live on air by people like you and I, Kathy. And I think that's what the listeners wanted to hear. So you would have, Professor Abdul Karim often, and you would be able to put your questions to him through the person. And it's a reminder on radio that when you're talking to an expert, the presenter is the listener. And when you're talking to a caller, the presenter is the presenter. You have to be nicer to callers than you are to guests, right? And so I think that was really important. And you got to the facts, and you could interrogate. And it was a difficult decision. And at some point, I'm sure someone is going to have something to say about it. But I thought early on, of all things, SAfm needed to be quite supportive of vaccinations. And some people were very critical of that. I mean, I went to a children's party with my kids, and someone immediately started with me on that. And I was like, but we can do this all day if you want. I'll go, and I'm not normally that aggressive. But I thought that was important. I thought that's what the public broadcaster was for. And I'll never forget, it was during elections, or local elections, and we were doing a thing in a People's Mediator where you could phone in and just say who you're going to vote for and why. And I wouldn't interrogate you. And I said that, and this guy said, I'm voting for this, I'm voting for that because they're against vaccinations. What are you going to do now, Stephen? It was so wonderful. And so I think that was the attitude. And then the other thing, which we must never forget, is how we are allowed on SAfm and elsewhere to really give government people a hard time. It's not like that in other places, eh? And that brought the credibility of SAfm.
You're talking about the need as presenters to be nicer to the listeners than you are to the guests. I'll never forget the debates that you would have with one of our listeners. Is the world round?
Oh, Mtinzi from Swane. Every Friday, yes.
If you are a passionate sports fan between 18 and 35, this is your moment to step into the spotlight at the 19th edition of the SA Sport Awards. Create a 45-second video where you introduce last year's Youth Junior Sports Star of the Year nominees. One winning presenter and their +1 will enjoy an all-expenses-paid trip to Sun City, a 10,000 Rand cash prize, and the opportunity to interview the Youth Junior Sports Star of the Year live on SABC1 on the 23rd of August 2026. Visit the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture website or official social media pages to enter. Entries close at 12 noon on the 9th of August 2026.
This Women's Month, South Africa marks a historic milestone of freedom, the 70th anniversary of the 1956 Women's March to the Union Buildings under the theme Empowered Women, Empower the Nation. Join government on the 9th of August at the same Union Buildings as we honor the women who stood together for freedom, dignity and equality while celebrating today's women who continue to build our nation. The day will feature commemorative activities, cultural performances and messages of hope, unity and economic empowerment. Be part of this historic occasion. Watinta Bafazi, Watinti Mbogoto, a message from government.
Call SAfm now on 086 000 2032.
Kathy, please ask Stephen if he does not miss Butana from Rosebank.
Oh, Stephen, the agent is corrupt, Stephen. No, man, Ramaphosa must go. Everybody must go.
Wow.
So do you miss Butana from Rosebank?
Yeah, I miss everybody. Even Mike from Newlands I miss. Don't tell him, for goodness sake.
Butana, how does
you're
it
kidding.
feel? How does it feel, Butana?
Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Stephen.
Butana, how are you?
I'm good. You know Stephen Crotte?
Yes.
This IDEC
Yes.
take artificial distance from themselves and their comrades.
Yes.
They are supposed to be prosecuted from the findings of Chief Justice.
Uncle Butana, I'm afraid your vocal cord is about to burst. I don't think I've quite heard you reach this peak before. So I'm going to ask you just come down a tone or two and then say what you want to say.
I'm saying, Stephen, the IDEC has been a disgrace to us now.
Yeah.
They created artificial distance from themselves and the comrades that they are supposed to prosecute from the findings of Chief Justice Zondo, who got the Guardian, Stephen.
Yeah.
Now the guard themselves is not perfect. He's a friend of President Ramaphosa.
Okay. Butana, I'm glad the passion is still there, if I may say. I mean, I think you must go through honey and lemon for your throat, man. But look, Butana, as I say, as I think I used to say to you then, it's your right to believe that, and it's your right to say it. So, Patana, lovely to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah, Butana, I think the Rooibos is doing nothing for him in the morning, Stephen.
Yeah.
Good morning, Sis Kitty. Please ask Stephen if it does not miss JCK from Musina.
JCK?
I don't remember JCK.
You don't remember JCK?
No. From Messina, I would remember Messina.
He's got the special sign out, Stephen, what is it? JCK!
Is Freddie the truck driver still around?
Of course, Freddie the truck driver.
Goodness. Yes.
All the truck drivers are still around.
Yes.
Freddie, Uncle JJ.
Yes.
And he's going to be really upset that we're not talking about him. Oh, who's that? Yeah, okay.
He'll come.
We'll self-correct now. We're going to self-correct now. I've got 20 seconds to figure it out. Okay. We're going to stay with Stephen Groote. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial for the studio line. 086 000 2032. The WhatsApp voice note line. I know you've been sending lots of them, but continue. You never know. You might struck it might be a lucky Friday and we'll play your voice note. 0614 104 107. It's 8:30. Time for your latest headlines. And good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Kathy. In the headlines, Cooperative Governance Minister Velinkusini Hlabisa is expected to proclaim the election date today. The proclamation of November 4th as the election day will trigger an immediate legislative freeze on the voters' roll at midnight. 4 suspects are expected to appear in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court this morning on charges of kidnapping and defeating the ends of justice. A 28-year-old man allegedly staged his own kidnapping in an attempt to extort money from his family. And US President Donald Trump has signed 2 executive orders aimed at restricting birthright citizenship after the US Supreme Court threw out his previous attempt in a ruling he described as unfair. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Friday morning between Pretoria and Joburg can often be a little bit of a back end of the week reward, and it is again this morning. No major problems until you get sort of just Allendale, Beclue. There is a breakdown there. That's a touch on the brakes, but nothing too desperate. R24, a crash between Barber Road and Edenvale. If you're coming out of the airport, it's quite a backlog to work through there this morning. And the N3 is still slow going north through Heldnace up into Van Buren into the roadworks. Apart from that, Gauteng Highway is easing up quite nicely, with the exception, of course, out east in Ekurhuleni of that N12 closure. The road closed between Pitfontein and Davyton, and that's due to a fatal crash. There's quite a backlog from Snake Road, Benoni side, probably big volumes ahead of the weekend, moving out through that part towards Mpumalanga. So you'll queue up down to Pitfontein and then a diver through the Davyton area. Durban, a crash a little bit earlier this morning on the M4 southbound between Virginia Airport and Durban North. Traffic is a little bit slow but moving better than when we last touched base. M7, if you're bluff-bound, big queues this morning from Queensborough moving down towards the N2, and the breakdown in the roadworks on the N2 North at Westwood Mall causing a backlog through Spaghetti Junction. Cape Town crash, N2 out of town just past Baden-Powell. That is heavy queues back through Khayelitsha, and a crash on the N1 inbound at Okavango Road in Brackenfell. Big queues in from Houstonburg and Kryfontein side, but pretty heavy on the way outbound. Having a look in that as well. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Zakan, good morning again. So we're looking at rugby's greatest rivalry beginning tonight. The All Blacks returning to South Africa.
30 years later. I guess the All Blacks are back. Some rivalries never go out of style. And if you've got your Friday night's plans sorted, thank you. Yeah, this one gets underway tonight. All Blacks beginning their first traditional tour of South Africa in 3 decades. New Zealand face the Stormers in Cape Town. It's the opening match of an 8-game schedule that also features 4 tests against the Springboks. The landmark tour revives one of rugby's oldest traditions, with the Boks set to return the favour when they tour New Zealand in 2030. Let's go to soccer. Banyana shifting their focus now to tomorrow night's Women's Africa Cup of Nations. It's a battle against the host Morocco. Now, they have to raise their game. Defender Figile Magama says the squad is embracing the challenge.
We're trying to adapt to these conditions. It's very hot this side. So I think going forward, we just have to fight, be with one another, fight for each other. Then anything is possible. For the past 3 games, we didn't play according to what we know. The opponents were taller than us. They didn't allow us to keep the ball a lot. We were playing most of the time long ball. So I think going forward, Morocco is going to give us what we know already. We just have to keep the ball and play what we know.
More soccer. After clearing the confusion over his future and embracing a fresh start under Cedric Hayes, Daniel Cardoso says Sekhukhune United's focus is now firmly on the MTN 8. But the captain expects a stern examination away to AmaZulu in the quarterfinals.
AmaZulu done well last season. I thought coming under Arthur, they've done exceptionally well. Last season they had a lot of energy, a lot of youngsters running up and down, and I think it's going to be the same this season. They won their first game, we won our first game, so I'm hoping that it's going to be an end-to-end game. I think the best team will win on the day, and obviously they have the home ground advantage.
Finally, athletics, the United States making a record-breaking start to the World Athletics Under-20 Championships, winning the mixed 4x400 meter relays in a championship, as well as a World Under-20 record time of 3 minutes 15.31 seconds. Kenya also celebrated a golden night as Franklin Kibet claimed the men's 5,000 meter title, while Uganda's Charity Cherop stormed to victory in the women's race. Brazil's Alessandro Borges secured the shot put that was gold with a personal best of 20.35 meters, while South Africa's 16-year-old Jaco van Dijk earned an impressive bronze medal with a personal best throw of 19.80 meters. Here's Jaco.
It was an amazing feeling, fighting back, getting the right distance, getting my things right. And all the hard work paying off from January, working hard with the 6, trying to qualify to now being the bronze medalist. It feels insane. I'm gonna throw with the 5 now on the Youth Olympics and the top 30 and everything, and see what I can do.
And that's your morning sporting sprint on the national briefing. John Gericke takes the baton over 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
Call SAfm now on 086 000 2032.
Good morning, Kathy and Stephen Krutes. Thank you for bringing Stephen, Kathy. I'm sure Stephen, he missed the Mapuche from Tswane. The guy for Friday Sciences. He said the earth is flat. I think also he missed Nomsa Mjuli, the Daily News Diary. What a day.
Yes.
Do you miss Nomsa?
I do. She's going to message me now, hopefully. But yes, I do.
How much it depends on how much you miss her. Do you miss her a little or do you miss her a lot?
I miss her a lot.
Nomsa, Stephen misses you a lot.
Oh, wow.
Morning, Nomsa.
Nomsa.
Hello, Kathy. Hello, Stibobo.
How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I'm good. You've even hidden her name so I can't see.
Of course we had to hide her name.
Oh, it's so nice to talk to you on air again.
Because you're so snoopy.
Also, great speaking to you. You know, as you were reflecting on COVID, and I remember those mornings as well, where literally, because I read the first bulletin on SAfm, it was numbers of people who died. And, you know, I remember having a conversation with my editor in the newsroom that I might be reading out numbers, but on that day, somebody has lost a loved one, a wife, a husband. And even on some days, you know, you would get family members that have passed away and you would ask yourself, are they in these statistics? So, yeah, that was a very tough time. And I must say, one of my highlights would be, you know, I'd make the daily diary very spicy.
Yes.
And you'd get some callers actually quite upset with me, and you would have to defend me because at that time
I was happy to. Yes.
So
shoulder to shoulder,
times.
Nomsa, yeah. You know, Kathy, Nomsa played such an important role when we started because she helped to sort of integrate us. She was very welcoming, but just that support meant the world.
And Nomsa, again, you know, because you are in the newsroom, so there is sort of unwritten risk that you're taking in making the daily news diary a bit spicy. So it's great to hear how Stephen always had your back in that. So Nomsa, maybe because you're on the line, tell us, what do you think is the future of public broadcasting and why it's so important for our country?
Public broadcasting has become even more pivotal, Kathy, because now there's the advent of podcasts and other forms of where people consume information, and some of those platforms really do not provide well-researched information. There's already a lot of misinformation, disinformation going on as well. So we really do still need, those credible platforms like your public broadcasters, like your SAfm, where people can really get credible information from credible sources, from knowledgeable presenters such as yourself, Kathy.
Love it. Nomsa Mdluli, thank you so much. Stephen?
Can I just make one point that Nomsa touched on about the pandemic?
Please do.
And I mean, when I think of my worst days at SAfm, were not because of what was happening in the studio or because Zelma didn't like the coffee or whatever it was. It was the period in sort of July, August 2021 when I would go home after my show. I don't know how you do it, but I'd have a little sleep, right? I just couldn't function anymore because my brain was fried after the show. And I would wake up at lunchtime and I'd look at my phone, and every day for about 3 weeks would be news that someone I knew had passed.
Sure.
And the reason I say this is towards the end of the pandemic and the lockdowns were easing and one could enjoy a beer, we did a mediated conversation on dealing with the pain, and I started by reading out a list of people who had been on SAfm before the pandemic who are no longer with us. It was about 80 people, Kathy. There's actually a list on Wikipedia. And by the time I got to the end, and I was speaking to a psychologist at the end from the CSVR, I think, and almost couldn't continue. And the reason I say this, I mean, there are people now who I know, their moms and their fathers and all the rest have passed, is as a nation, and I remember doing a mediated conversation on it then, we still don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about that time. We're scared of it. We've moved on as quickly as we can. It's entirely human. And there's a lot, South Africa's a lot. But man, we are not dealing with that.
Stephen, as you're speaking, I'm actually thinking about the fact that I don't know that we've spoken about the pandemic beyond just the fact that we're out of it and life is moving on, because it still feels like it was a movie, a terrible nightmare, a horror film that you just couldn't wait to end. Being one of the few people like you on the streets during that time, driving to SAfm in the mornings, being the only car on the road, more often than not. Worse yet, in the evenings when I would leave my evening show on TV, driving home, being the only car on the road. Occasionally seeing a police car stationed at a robot, depending on which route you're taking. It still feels so surreal to go back into our memory on that. All right. Stembile, you're in Durban. Good morning.
Good morning, Kathy, and the brothers was Sentini.
He's gone all bourgeois on us. Eh? He's gone all bourgeois. Apparently, the CBD is not good enough for him anymore.
Oh, please.
I can see that, but it's so refreshing, guys. Thank you so much for this. We love you, Steve. We miss you.
Thank you, Stembile.
We miss Ray. You remember
Ray
Maklaka?
Ray Maklaka,
right?
yes.
I actually thought it's Ray Mahlaba, Steve. I'm thinking it's an English name.
Yes.
Then
yes.
I saw Ray. I'm like, Ray Mahlaka, we miss you so much.
Yeah.
All the best.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Wonderful,
much.
Wonderful, Stembile. Thank you so much. Joanne, you're in Cape Town. Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Stephen. I've got a confession to make.
Oh, I like it. Confess.
Stephen, and thank you for the explanation of what was going on when you came on, because it just makes so much sense. Because I was one of those listeners who was so angry when they changed, because I was so used to the ladies' voices in the morning, and But yeah, it took a little time, and then you took us through so much.
No.
So just want to say thank you for the years. It was really great.
No, thank you, Joanne.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think you're right to feel angry for Sakina. A lot of people were. It's worked out for her, I think. You would have to ask her, obviously. But yeah, no, I think that makes sense to me. So, Joanne, thank you.
Thanks for that, Joanne. Tabiso, you're in Polokwane. Good morning.
Good morning, Kathy, and good morning to Steve.
Hi, Tabiso.
I'm currently dealing with my own personal funeral at home, but the back of SAfm and listening in the morning, doing chores here and there, I couldn't resist just to pick up a call and say, let me talk to Steve, because when he was leaving, I couldn't manage to get in. It was painful, when you have been calling throughout the week and days and all of that. That is one thing that is important. I think we remember you, Steve.
Yeah,
and we know that wherever you are, when we listen to you on the other side, you're doing a great job there.
Thank you.
We still look up to you to interrogate. And also say, when we are interviewing some of our leaders, to say, no, but let's deal with this one.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I have to ask this question. That's still for you.
Wonderful, Tabiso. Yeah, so you see, you're also coming with your own confessions on air today, ne, Tabiso? The non-loyal loyalists, huh, Tabiso? We see you. We see you.
No, I'm still with you.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
But Tabiso, thank you. Thank you. That's so kind. Thank you. And you're right. Whenever I say I'm sorry, I have to ask you. No, you're in trouble now.
Lebo, you're in Bella Bella. Good morning. Good morning, Lebo.
Yes, SAfm is addictive. I started listening to SAfm when I was still in high school.
Sure.
1984. A lady called Stella Hare. She used to read the news on
a long time ago.
Yes. I just want to say, Kathy, we are very proud of you. You're doing a good job. And to Stephen, I think your dad did a very good job in raising you, because you are a role model to South Africans.
Oh, thank you.
You don't see color in people. You see a fellow South African. That is why we love you so much.
No, thank you.
Yes.
No.
And I started listening to you long ago when really introduced you as Tivovo.
Yes.
That was a nice show as well. I watch TV in the morning listening to SAfm. And my kids will laugh at me. There's something happening. You are looking at the TV, but you are listening to SAfm. I say I switch between the two because I just can't get rid of Kathy. I'm really addicted to SAfm. Thank you guys so much.
I'm glad to hear it.
We are so proud to be South Africans because you make our mornings very good. Thank you so much.
Lebo, thank
you.
you. Thank you for that. So, are you paying Ridi royalties?
For Steve Orwell.
Does she know that you owe her royalties now?
The first day she did that, and she did it with such passion. I mean, we were friends, we knew each other. She was really giving me all the support and making sure everybody knew about it. And as she did it, and I was so nervous. It was my first show. It wasn't on the other side, and I was like, this is really important. What she's just done is really important. And she continued to do it. And she named me. I always say, if people say, because I get asked often, where does it come from? I say, Ridi Tlhabi. You'll have to ask her.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, back to the royalties, ne?
Yeah.
Let's pay our dues where they are due. Okay. Bongi, you're in Durban North. Good morning, Bongi.
Steve Ovo and Oscar, how are you guys?
Good. Go
Bongi,
for it,
hi.
Bongi.
Yes, Steve Over, I wanted to appreciate you, man. When you went a bit far, you once gave me the Call of the Month award, so I just reflected.
Thank you, Bongi. Yes.
I was reflecting on that, and just also my confession on my side. I was one of those people that were so attached to the lady that did the show before Sakina, you came on. Sakina, and I was not so happy about that. But then over time, you gradually grew into me, and that's how we could have engagements.
Yeah.
And I remember times through the COVID-19. I think I wasn't on the side that you were on. I was on the opposite side because there's a lot of things that were happening at the time. And I wasn't too happy with the idea of what was happening, but at least now we can reflect because it's 6 years later and we've all gone through a lot. And yeah, man, I just wanted to appreciate and thanks for that call of the month. It really went a long way.
Thank you, Bongi. And look, we went through it together. That's the important thing. And we can still talk to each other afterwards. And that, I think, is the point of SAfm, is to be able to talk to each other afterwards. So thank you. And thank you for listening. It means so much to me.
Okay, I'm getting hard pressed now, Stephen. I'm looking at the time. I'm looking at the callers. I'm having to make some tough calls. Bramoro, good morning.
Bramoro, hello. How are you doing?
Stephen. I'm better than the economy. Stephen, honestly, where we slept last night, we should go back and sleep in the same position. We wish to have you back. Yeah.
You wish this could have happened each and every week or a monthly.
Forever. At least forever, please. For the sake of Mzansi, please do it for us. Even if you can be on the show, at least partner with Kati in the morning, please. Even if it's 1 hour every morning. No. Otherwise, we might hit the street and demonstrate against that, please. Stephen, now, just go to social media. Everyone is talking about you. We miss you.
No.
Fortunately, you came at the right time. SAfm is celebrating 90 years, which is unprecedented.
Yes.
Stephen, please bless us. At least partner with Kati. Over the weekend, there are two, a lady and a gentleman who is hosting the weekend show. You can also get addicted to Kati. Please do it for us. And Kati, please. Brian Hash, please. Can you please also get him also? Brian Hash, the businessman. Yes. To talk to on Tuesdays. Yeah, we miss him also as well.
Oh, okay. All right,
so kind. Thank you.
All right. Well,
Stephen, please. Lastly, did SAfm took your Twitter account because you hardly updated since you left?
Yeah,
SAfm,
I'll tell you.
You hardly.
I was moving to a different thing, and I was exhausted by Twitter. Elon Musk took it over and made what was already a difficult space worse. I didn't like what I was seeing. I'd never liked the personal attacks. I'd never liked the stress of opening my Twitter account and seeing my mentions and thinking, had this happened or that happened? And I realized I was polluting my brain by reading so much of it. And so I took a decision to just stop. I felt there was no benefit for it. And I understand why people are still on the platform. I have no problem with that. But that was my decision. And I'll tell you this, Bramoro, I've never regretted it. You know, if something happens on X, I might not be the first to see it, but that doesn't matter. And I realized, and maybe I'm just getting older, I just realized we need to move away from needing to see it first. So I thought that was important. But yeah, Bramoro, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. I share your views on X. I've shared your views even before you shared my views.
Yes.
So thanks for aligning with my views on X,
I'm a bit slow.
No, so now you're going to appreciate this one. Robin, good morning.
Robin.
Good morning. Look, the whole country's ringing to say good morning, so I couldn't not ring in and say good morning, Stephen. How are you?
I'm good. Good to hear your voice again. I was hoping I'd get to talk to you this morning.
Happy Friday.
Thank you, and to you. How's the traffic? Still disastrous?
Yeah, absolutely disastrous. We can say, someone said they're better than the economy. I can say I'm better than the traffic. So, always better than the traffic. That's the beauty of doing what I do. You never have to sit in it. So yeah, I'm always better than the traffic. But yeah, nice to see you back. And it's like an old friend dropping in, isn't it? It's like an old friend calling home and saying hello. So good. All the best to you. I'll get on because obviously there's a pile of people that want to say hello. Just let you know quickly, if you're driving out of Gauteng this morning to Mpumalanga, the N12 still closed between Pitfontein and Daveyton. So there's quite a heavy backlog from Snake Road heading into that. R24 between Barbara and Edenvale, leaving the airport, a crash there, still causing quite a heavy delay as well. Durban, N2 running north, a couple of breakdowns, one at Spaghetti, one at Westwood Mall. So for Friday morning, it's stuck in an unusual queue heading up in towards that work zone through 4 level. And Cape Town, 2 crashes at Khayelitsha, one on your way out of town on the N2 past Baden Powell, causing a backlog, and one on the N2 inbound at Meway in Khayelitsha, causing a delay coming through from Spine Road. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Built in Mzansi on the National Briefing.
All right, let's get into our Built in Mzansi segment for today. And We're looking now at an industry that is valued at around R1 billion, and it's South Africa's organic and natural products industry. And just in a couple of days, there's the Natural Products Expo Africa that's going to be taking place. Warren Hickinbotham is the co-founder of this expo. He joins us. Warren, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. We've seen the creativity of producers, not only in this country but on the continent. There's such a hunger for people to use indigenous knowledge to make things themselves and have those on retail shops. So how important is this for small and medium enterprises? Warren? Right, I'm not sure where Warren is. It looks like we may have lost Warren on the line there. And of course, Warren is, like I said, the co-founder, and they received, can you believe it, 1,200 applications from small businesses to participate in this expo. Warren, you're back on the line. Let's talk about just how important a platform this is for small and medium enterprises.
Thanks very much for having me on. We're at the show. I'm looking at the building up happening, and it's all these small businesses that you talk about in front of me, you know, eagerly awaiting the opportunity to get their products in front of people. So it's a massively important platform with face-to-face interactions where consumers can taste, touch, smell, and really kind of experience these amazing products. So it's a very important platform for these guys.
The opportunity that it presents to be able to launch themselves in the marketplace, you can see just by way of the applications you receive that there's a genuine hunger for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just those numbers you mentioned, we receive over 1,000 applications from small businesses who want to attend and want to participate in this platform. And we can only get, you know, a certain number of those across the line. So it just shows the massive need that they have for market access. You know, these guys are often small businesses, as I said. They're new, they don't have huge budgets. So platforms like this to really engage with thousands of consumers and trade buyers is what they're looking for.
When you look at the risks that many of these small businesses are taking on, what would you say is the biggest barrier that prevents them from moving their products, from being sold out of the boot of their cars to being available at scale in retailers, you know, where you can just walk around your corner in your local community and find their products on your store shelf?
I think there's two sides to the answer to that question. The first one is obviously funding. You know, any business growth requires capital and it requires backing to be able to produce more stock. You know, for example, if you're doing markets every weekend and then you want to step up into retail, the kind of stock and inventory you need to have on hand is massively expanded. So that requires funding. So that's definitely the first one. The other side of it, of course, is kind of education and business education around how to do these things. We're running a conference over the next 2 days that tries to kind of bring this information in partnership with our sponsor, Standard Bank. We've got guys helping them with regards to AI and how to use that in their businesses. So the more educated they become around how to take those next steps, and if they can find funding and backing, then the opportunities are there.
What are export markets looking for from African producers that somebody who's sitting in their car today who might not be at the expo needs to know to gear themselves up, position themselves for the market?
Well, the world is hungry for Africa. You know, Africa is seen as the next growth space for you know, the rest of the world. So Africa itself just has a ring to it, an appeal. And then, of course, you look at the unique ingredients, the unique products that we have here. So things like scaletium, buchu, moringa, and various others. So the products that we're seeing across this space, all the SMEs, all have some kind of uniqueness and an innovation to it that is uniquely African, and the world wants us.
Warren Hickenbotham, a co-founder of the Organic and Natural Products Expo Africa, and they of course are going to be showcasing over the weekend. Do look them up and go and support, right, all of these small businesses that are taking a bet on themselves, believing in themselves, and actually doing something new, something different that can inspire and build the local economy. All right, 2 minutes left, Stephen Grootes, before we have to get out of here, you and I. There are two questions I want to ask you, and they have to do with SAfm. What's the one message that you want to leave SAfm and our listeners with as we celebrate 90 years?
I would say that the need to be critical, to discuss, to understand, to hear the other side, but to be independent in your own thought and to make sure that you get news from many different sources and make sure that where you're getting your news from is verified. That, for me, I think would be the main message, is you have to be critical.
Stephen, in one sentence, what does South Africa mean? What does SAfm, rather, mean to South Africa?
I think SAfm is a place where South Africans can come together, where we can discuss, where we can argue, where we can hug each other afterwards, where we can understand each other and still be cross. I think that's what SAfm is. It's a place for our brains to talk to each other, and that's why it's so important.
You and him got along, kind of. I'm not sure. Did you really get along?
With who?
You fought each other at the BCCSA. You gave each other.
This is Mike from Newlands, isn't it?
Hi, Stephen.
Hello, Mike.
You on Kathy's show. Really do miss you. But Kathy does a fantastic job and still very much an SAfm listener. And but I do miss you because I don't listen to other stations. I do miss that deep breath you always used to take whenever you kindly took my call, so I could rant about some ANC politician. You would go, it's Mike from Newlands.
Mike from Newlands. It was fun,
and
Mike.
I think the rest of the Brazilians laughed while having suit. All the best.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Kathy, I know we're going to be late for news. Let me just say two things very quickly. First, a big thank you to yourself for having me, but to Zelma Mdu and Stanza for being with me through all of that. It was the most important thing. The last thing is, for me, it must be a stain on the conscience of every politician represented in Parliament that the SABC is in the state that it is in, that it does not get the money that is due to it. They are withholding money. They are not having a proper, constructive conversation about funding the SABC, and by doing that, they are stopping Mzansi's brains from having the discussions, the conversations, and the information we need to have. From me, Stephen Grootes, shame on them.
Nothing else to add to that except to agree. Over to the Daily Discourse.
In our top stories, Hlabisa issues last-minute registration plea and Lusikisiki mass murder trial set to resume today. Good morning.